Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting Overwatch day here at League Zero Overwatch. Tonight, we have got a treat for you. We have the Goofy Goobers going up against Hope's Peak in our Advanced Division. A little bit of a reschedule, not normally our, shall we say, normal day for play, but hey, it's always a good day to play some Overwatch. I am Bramblebush, joined here with our production head, Grand Guru Acrinator. How are you doing today, Acri?
Tired, as you can imagine, having to reschedule this game like, oh god, 3 days after it was supposed to be played, something like that. It's a lot to organize that, but we're getting this streamed to. Oh no, one of the players just DM'd me. Do you know the preset code? So we're off
The
to a great start.
Oh boy.
Give
A
me a
lot goes on
moment.
behind the scenes here in League Zero, as you all can tell.
Give me a moment.
Now, yep, you do what you got to do. Let's get this going. So, a little bit about Hope's Peak and Goofy Goobers. They are our two lower tiered advanced division teams at the moment. Hope's Peak coming in here 1-3 with their win loss record. The Goofy Goobers currently sitting at 0-4, trying to look and get that first map win of, or the first match win of the season. The last time these two teams met was 3 weeks ago in our second week of play. Goofy Goobers and Hope's Peak going the distance 5 maps, with Hope's Peak taking the win 3-2. So, I mean, it looks like Hope's Peak. I don't know if I said that. I'm losing track of myself already. See, it's not just the production that's getting a little wonky out here. Sometimes we get a little confused up here ourselves. Goofy Goobers lost that out, the 2-3. So they have that, shall we say, history of like, we could do this. They got right there. They're going to be looking to pull off that upset again this time.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, Goofy Goobers looking for their first win. A little bit of revenge against Hope's Peak. Last time these two teams faced was a very, very close game. Hope's Peak not have been having a great couple of past weeks 'cause they haven't been getting their starting lineup. I believe this is their starting lineup. At the very least, I know they finally have their off tank once again. In Dashi for a couple of weeks they didn't. So Adbon would have to fail or someone else would have to fail here and there. But it looks like they're finally back. We're going to be seeing the Term Adbon DPS duo. I think this is the first time, although they might have played together last week as well. I don't quite remember. Either way, that's going to be interesting because I know Term likes to play kind of all over the place, and then Adbon's like a jack of all trades. But I think the big player I'm looking at here in the lobby is Eevee. I believe they're a new pickup for Goofy Goopers. I haven't really gotten a chance to really take a deep dive and look at them, so I'm very interested to see how they're going to perform over, say, owners who in the past didn't look bad for Goofy Goopers. Maybe this, stylistic change that comes with a new main tank is what Goofy Goopers needs.
Absolutely. I always like to imagine it can be sort of a head game, honestly, because with Eevee being picked up just 1 week ago today for the Goofy Goobers, Hope's Peak kind of doesn't really know what to expect coming into this match with this new main tank. So it's definitely going to be an interesting show point.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, aside from that, Goofy Goobers has the exact same lineup they've always had. It's the OC off tank, the phone Raja DPS duo, which they've definitely seemed to settle on. Not really too surprising considering those two's synergy from previous teams outside of League Zero, and then the Lupical Amelia, aka Schleim, support line. These are good players. I've been saying it since the very beginning. None of the teams in Advanced are bad, but Goofy Goobers doesn't quite have that closing potential, that clutch potential, dare
Mm.
I say. So they have a tough time closing out these maps when it matters the most. And that seems to get more true over the course of a series. So if they struggle earlier on, it seems to be a lot more difficult for them to pick up as opposed to going back and forth throughout the series. And they still have some steam.
Oh, absolutely. As a wise man once said, it's possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That's life. Now, the one thing that I like to that really kind of gets me excited and hopeful that Goofy Goobers can take their win, though, as you said, these teams minus Eevee with the new main tank, these players have been on this team playing together for the longest of times. That synergy is very important, especially in team-based games like Overwatch. Whereas Hope's Peak, I believe they've had maybe one or two mix-ups here and there, but for the most part, they've also kind of been sitting still, having a synergistic team. And so it's definitely these two teams are going to be button heads trying to say which one of us has the better synergy, which one of us has been playing together longer, better. And it's going to be just a real knockout slugfest for tonight's matchup.
Yeah, definitely. I'm I'm very interested personally to see how Dashi kind of comes back into the mix with Hope's Peak. Like I said, they've been gone for I think about 2 weeks. I think they were on vacation or like summer camp or something like that. But now they're back. They're extremely underrated, in my opinion, and I think that could be one of the clutch factors. Granted, I say that like despite Goofy Goobers not seeming to have that clutch factor a lot of the time. When they need it most, Hope's Peak is filled with nothing but clutch. Like literally every single one of these players on Hope's Peak has been around for a good amount of time, at least one season prior to this. They've had extremely ridiculous plays. I mean, heck, you go like flawless main tank manager of the team. He's been around since season one. He's been like slowly climbing his way up the power rankings throughout that time. Right back in season one, he kind of went overlooked. He got onto an unfortunate easy clap team. Come season two, season three, even where he looks a little bit more menacing each time. And then this season, arguably one of the better main tanks as long as they can keep their cool as a team. Unfortunately, you just have other teams like Powerhouse and Axolotl who seem to be jiving a little bit better. But in terms of like individual skill, I think Hope's Peak has plenty. Um, yeah, I just think I don't know what the teams are doing in all honesty right now. I'm just keeping an eye on match chat thus far. We are the only ones that are ready, being production. Um,
Oh, fun.
so I'm not sure what's happening.
Now, you've mentioned that you're going to be keeping your eye on Eevee from the Goofy Goobers. And with Hope's Peak, their tank line, especially with Flawless. So, do you think it's going to turn into a battle of the main tanks, or are we going to be sitting more looking at the DPS duo or the support duo, trying to be what clutches it out here?
Um, Despite Lupical being utterly nasty, I'm not sure the support duo of Goofy Goobers can stand up to Geode Pixel Master because that is a terrifying support duo. I think it's going to come down to, in a lot of ways, the DPS lineups in their matchup. I don't want to put too much pressure on the EV quite yet. I don't know how they're going to play, so it's really hard to say one way or the other. But all four of these DPS, Phone, Vraja, and then Term Adbon, are known quantities. It really just depends on how they can play against each other and with the rest of the team, depending on like what they want to play, right? Especially with the new main tank, I don't really know what compositions Goofy Goobers are going to be running, so it's hard to say like what DPS picks they might want to play with. Whereas Hope's Peak generally likes to run a little bit of the brawl, a lot of the Winston compositions if they can get away with it. So that's kind of a known quantity. Otherwise, raw performance from
Raw.
from historical appearances uh, is really all I'm going off here. But I think that'll be the closest matchup in this game.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. We've got plenty of known factors, plenty of unknown factors, lots of wild cards coming into this. So I'm just going to be a little bit honest here. I'm kind of biting my nails waiting to get into this match. We're going to be starting off on Lijiang Tower for our control map. My personal favorite map in this whole game. It's the map that turned me into a Zarya main for my tank play. Are we going to be expecting lots of, double bubble symmetric compositions? Do you think maybe some bit more brawl, especially probably on Night Market? I love to see a lot of brawl on Night Market. I mean, the compositions, so many different compositions you can run on this map. So I'm just ready to see what is going to happen. Where are we going to go with this?
Yeah, definitely. In terms of compositions, it's really going to change depending on the specific round of Lijiang. The one character I'd expect to see all three rounds would be Symmetra. Other than that, we could see some uh, probably dive on, say, gardens. Usually, sometimes teams like to teleport a brawl over onto the point. A little bit less common. The brawl definitely comes into play on like Control Center, for example. That's just kind of like the quintessential Reinhardt map outside of King's Row, and then you have it's the other one, Night Market, where you can honestly play almost anything like the wrecking ball compositions. You can play the dive, you can play the brawl, you can play the double shield if you want to, and some teams have actually been opting to do that. So I don't know if this were Goofy Goobers with owners in on main tank. I would say they're probably going to go for the Orisa comps because that seemed to be their bread and butter for a while. But now with now with Eevee, I can't really say.
Yeah, definitely going to be the wild card. Definitely going to be something for everyone at home watching to keep your eyes on. These wild cards are always these new editions wild cards are always going to be an amusing thing to watch. It looks like the teams might be ready to get in on this. For those who aren't able to see it at the moment, the match chat is lighting up with both teams currently pinging Acri and myself asking if we are ready to move in. We're sitting here
Oh,
saying, well, we're sitting here saying, come on, team, we were waiting on you. What are you guys doing? Come on. All right. Looks like we may about be starting. Are we
think we're
moving in?
actually
There we
going
go.
in.
We are
There we
getting
go.
in.
Oh,
Oh, we unfortunately had a little bit of a technical mix-up. It changed the maps on us, but now we are going to be moving into Lijiang Tower for our first map. It looks like Night Market is going to be where we are opening up. So any position is in play at this point. Definitely going to be an exciting. I fully anticipate a brawl fest.
um, yeah, probably. I know some teams like to attempt to play the wrecking ball, but otherwise, it's probably going to be like a. Oh no, okay. Well, both teams are ironically teasing the the wrecking ball. Now they are still in spawn, so they can change that up however they please. Very similar compositions that they're teasing though, so maybe they've I don't know, been watching Overwatch League or something lately. Unfortunately, I haven't had the luxury of doing just that. But either way, really interesting composition. I do have Raja teasing Symmetra. Looks like they're sticking with it. I wonder if they're gonna do a full teleport or just get their team out of spawn and swap. Looks like a quick swap, so interesting compositions here. It's not normally what I would have expected in past weeks, but probably something has changed with the meta to make this popular.
All right, and here we go. A little bit of a scattered engagements over here outside of point with the Farmer Seas, just trying to get some extra damage in on the sky. Control point's going to be unlocking. Adbon getting the first pick onto Vraja. First blood goes on that point. Point beginning to unlock, get captured. Nope, they are going to step off of it and continue the fight over here. Nope, nothing, anything. And there we go. Eevee finding Pixel Master. There we go. A pick for the Goofy Goobers. And the point is going to unlock for Hope's Peak, however, that's going to be the first control point that we get. An anti-grenade onto Dasha, denying that Wrecking Ball some healing. He's going to have to try and get out of there. Flawless getting dangerously low, getting close to D-Mech. Man, a lot of scattered fights around here. You don't really expect to see something like this. Vraja with the D-Mech onto Flawless and turning and eliminating Term. Here we go, a Valkyrie coming up from Geo to try and keep the team alive, but he instantly gets slept down. Adbon taking out Lupical. Vraja getting a pick, and Melia picking Lupical back up and then getting taken out himself. A lot of the trades going through. The point is going to be flipping over to the Goofy Goobers at 29% for Hope's Peak. This fight still drawing out, getting going. Phone taking down Adbon, and it looks like Hope's Peak is going to be going back into spawn and resetting.
Yeah, you said there's a lot of scattered fights, and that's really what this composition wants to do from both sides. The Wrecking Ball, it wants to divide and conquer, but ironically, they're not really playing against any composition that can be, since they're mirror comping. So they just kind of have to set up weird engagements, have a little bit of a dive coming in onto Lupical here, but looks like everything will turn out okay for Goofy Goobers. They're remaining in control for the time being, and it looks like Dashi is going to have to disengage. Interesting here that Flawless, despite hyping him up as a bit of a main tank up-and-comer over the past few seasons, is actually on the Diva, interestingly enough. I guess Dashi's ball has been more promising in scrims, and they want to play this, so I guess that's the best way to put it. And now that we do have the point securely in Goofy Goober's control, Hope's Peak are going to have to rotate around and avoid this courtyard, unless they have some ability to push Goofy Goobers out of the way, because this is exactly where the defense wants to hold.
Alright, a Nano coming out onto Adbon for the side of Hope's Peak as EOC throws in that self-destruct and manages to find Geode. Phone getting rezzed by Amelia, but the minefield comes down and takes down Amelia immediately after that res goes through, so not Still an even number of team members right there. Adbon finding the mirror and phone before dropping a barrage onto his mother. Lupical, however, taking Farah right back down, saying, "You are grounded, Fariha. How dare you barrage your mother?" Term taking out Vraja on point. Now we've got a little bit of a slugfest going on over here. Hope's Peak beginning to capture the point. But a little bit of contest here coming out from Baby EOC, but Baby EOC getting knocked right back down. Amelia trying to contest, doesn't get there in time, flies and throws himself right over the edge to try and respawn back with the team. We are seeing a swap come through here as Phone moves over to the Echo. Gonna see a bit more of a attempt at aerial superiority here, playing that, what I like to refer to as a Farah Hunter. The ultimate economy, though, still favoring Hope's Peak with that self-destruct Pulse Bomb, whereas Vraja only has the Pulse Bomb on the side of Goofy Goobers. Amelia swapping over to the Brig and Lupical with the Zenyatta, so a bit of a support line mix-up as well. A little bit of engagement over there on the far side of the point. Dashi trying to just kind of tease over there, get a little bit of a look at me going on over here. Vraja with the early pick in this fight onto Term, taking down that mirror composition. There it is, the Farah Hunter striking true as Phone takes down Adbon. Flawless getting that Discord, getting dropped dangerously low. Pixel Master nanoing him, trying to keep him up, but it's not enough. He manages to drop that self-destruct to try and get back into mech, and he does manage to get right back in. Geode resing Adbon. Gets dropped in the process, though. More trades coming through. Evi knocking Dashe off of the point. Oh boy, that sounded a lot of fun right there. We are in overtime right here. Pulse Bomb manages to take down Evi from Term. Adbon taking down Vraja. Goofy Goobers, they're trying their best. They are possibly not going to be able to hold on to the point here as Hope's Peak has the man advantage. We have a Doomfist coming up from Phone to try and get out and establish more of a supremacy on that point. EOC dropping that self-destruct. Doesn't manage to find anything, but it does manage to zone out the point a little bit more. Now here we go, just a bit of a slugfest, no eliminations being found. Geode getting that reverse elimination, getting Pixel Master back in the fight as Term eliminates Amelia with a nice donk to the noggin, finding Phone as well, but Vraja evening it back up, saying, "You're not the only Tracer that can get picks here," finding both supports on the side of the Goofy Goobers. And the point does flip here to Hope's Peak, who have currently the man advantage on point. EOC putting in a valiant effort to try and flip it back, but it's not going to work. Baby Diva fight going down, and a big squish coming down from Flawless, turning EOC into a pancake. We've had a lot of hero swaps coming here for the stall, so we have to wonder, are these going to stick? Or is this just a matter of trying to turn around and get back in the fight?
Goofy Goobers took so long to re-engage into that fight that they're now into one-fight territory, and it's actually looking favorable for Hope's Peak outside of losing Schleim there. They're on the left.
Now, Eevee taking out Pixel Master and a nano boost onto Term, manages to find the elimination on the Lupical, but Eevee getting two big picks there, knocking Dashe off the point. Flawless throwing in that self-destruct, zoning the point out yet again. Amelia popping that rally, giving the team some much-needed armor to try and stay into this fight. Lupical swapping to that Lucio to try and get back into the fight together to keep the team alive. A little bit of a brawl taking on outside of the point. Geode rolling around on those walls trying to do what they can to stall out. Vraja getting Pixel Master as another self-destruct comes down from EOC. Adbon getting that tactical visor, getting that aimbot going, manages to find Amelia, but Lupical takes Adbon right down, shutting down that ultimate. Flawless getting DMX'd on the outside of point, with Lupical getting another elimination onto Term. Dasha with those adaptive shields managing to stay in the fight. Is he going to get the minefield? Yes, he is, but he gets dropped in the process. Is anybody else going to be able to touch this for the side of Hope's Peak? It doesn't look like it's going to be much. Oh, Goofy Goobers are just cleaning up right here. Phone with the tactical visor coming out. That might be all that she wrote. That is going to be it. Round one going the side of Goofy Goobers after a very long, drawn-out slugfest of a fight.
It's pretty rare that you have the stall soldier come back with enough time to build up an attack visor. Not only that, we had two of those, because Phone and Adbon both were able to build up to their own attack visors. Ironically, Phone's was able to close out that round, but it felt like it would just never end, right? There was almost no target focus just in general, because both teams were staggering in so hard, because they didn't want to give up the fight. Goofy Goobers kind of started it, where Hope's Peak had just initially recaptured the point, like 40-ish% remaining, and they just would not give up. A quick pause coming in, not sure why, but we'll get in briefly. The doors are just about to open, so we can probably assume this is going to be the actual compositions these teams run out on. No real surprises on the side of Goofy Goobers, because they tend to like this shadow dive on Gardens in particular, whereas Hope's Peak sticking with the Wrecking Ball composition, interestingly enough.
All right, it seems like we might be having some technical issues on the side of the teams, a little bit on both sides. It sounds like for having some communication issues. Looks like they might be readying back up, and here we go. The pause timer is going. The doors are open. We've got the team compositions in. There we looking. There it is. They're going to wrap around to the outside of the point here on Gardens. Dashy's ball rolling in, hitting those, getting those little boops where he can. Trying to get a little bit of a damage, a little bit of ult charge in there. Term getting a bit of damage fed onto him, but manages to get out with his life, flanking around, trying to do what he can to distract the members. Adbon just raining down that damage from above. Now we have Goofy Goobers establishing presence on the point. Looks like the point might unlock. There it is. Hope's Peak rolls in. Big anti-grenade coming out, finding Eevee and Phone, but Dashi getting hacked out from Vraja and then gets eliminated by Phone. So Goofy Goobers have the man advantage, and the point does lock in their favor. So they're beginning to pick up the progress. Oh, Eevee jumping in, finding the elimination on the Pixel Master, but Flawless just dunks Phone right back on the head. Adbon with a pick on Vraja. The DPS for Goofy Goobers are down. You have to wonder if Hope's pick is going to try to take this and move in. Geode resing the support partner in Pixel Masters. Lupical goes down. Point might be flipping here. Term with a double kill onto the supports of Goofy Goober. That is it. The point is going to flop. It's just a matter of cleanup right here. Phone moving in to try and have a valiant effort to stall out the point, but manages to turn around, run out. He realizes it's not worth it. Not going to go in there and just give that ult charge.
Yeah,
Tachi moving in. Oh, Phone, you gotta keep your feet on solid ground there, buddy. Manages to jump off of the map. Ooh, it's probably to respawn with the team a little bit closer. Looking at that ultimate economy, we've got both TPS ults online for the side of Hope's Peak. An early pick on Vraja is gonna stop Goofy Goober's push cold right there. Now, Goofy Goobers have that Coalescence. Are they going to try and use it to push in here?
That's really the only thing they do have, whereas you look at Hope's Peak, the reason they were able to build up so many ultimates is mostly because Goofy Goobers just wouldn't give up the already lost fight, right? You gotta kind of know when to disengage, and unfortunately they didn't quite have anyone make that call. Now they don't really have an answer to this.
Oh, big barrage coming out, finding Amelia, but the EMP goes through to shut it down so it doesn't find any more value. The ultimates being committed on the side of Goofy Goobers with that Coalescence and Primal Rage.
No.
And it manages to work! Eevee knocking Dashi off point, and Phone with a massive triple kill, finding the Death Blossom to follow up onto Term, and then demeching and eliminating Flawless. The point flips back to Goofy Goobers, but Hope's Peak still have the ultimate economy here to work with. EOC going to get that self-destruct online, and Amelia with the sound barrier, but Hope's Peak having both tank ults and a pulse bomb to come through, they are definitely looking to shut this fight down early. EOC throwing in that self-destruct, trying to zone out the members of Hope's Peak. Oh, and a massive explosion takes down both supports on the side of Hope's Peak. That push might be stopped. It looks like, yeah, Goofy Goobers are going to try and push in, try and stall them out a little bit more. Term does manage to hit that recall and get out. A little bit of deja vu right there for him. Adbon trying to find that pick on the Phone, but the shotguns manages to get the ranged character of Pharah. Phone shutting down Adbon and the push on the side of Hope's Peak. We've got the two dive characters over there on the far side with the White Room and that Tracer and Wrecking Ball. The rest of the team stuck at the choke as Goofy Goobers looking to pick up a little bit more ults here. That timer ticking up, self-destruct thrown in. Eevee manages to drop that bubble, keep the team up. Sound barrier comes out from the side of Amelia to keep his team in the fight as Dasha gets hacked, but they don't manage to find the elimination. In fact, he drops the minefield, dropping Eevee. Term taking himself out with that pulse bomb. You got to take the enemy team out with that. Adbon with a valiant barrage finding Lupical, but the Goofy Goobers are just getting the eliminations here. They are going to hold on to the point as Flawless gets demeched. They're just going to toy with that baby for a little bit, and there it is. Point 2 go to the Goofy Goobers, giving them map 1 of Lijiang Tower.
Really weird play from both teams, in all honesty. It felt like neither of them really had any target focus, so it was just kind of whoever could find the solo kills wherever necessary. You had Phone at one point. Yeah, there you go. There's the tail end of it. The exact play that I'm talking about. Just kind of ran into the backline and killed 3. I don't quite know why they ignored a Reaper like that, but I guess it worked in favor of in favor of Goofy Goober, so you take those. A little bit of a weird play all around. It didn't feel like they were playing to like the traditional win conditions, but at the same time, again, if you're winning, then you're doing something right, enough So it's
Enough, right?
very weird play, but I guess I should come to expect that from these teams. They're traditional is not necessarily in their vocabulary, should I say.
What little stories I have heard from the advanced division, this being my first time casting up here, traditional is in fact just thrown out the window when it comes to these compositions. I may only be a average gold player between all three of my ranks, but I'll say this was not structured Overwatch that we were seeing. We were just seeing, hey, there's a guy over there. I'm going to go get him. Well, okay, you do that. I'll go over there and go get that guy over there. Very scattered fights, but I mean, like you said, if you're winning, you must be doing something right. And Goofy Goobers must have been doing enough right to secure the eliminations that they needed when they needed, and it managed to give them the map.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see a map pick quite yet, but let's see. It would be Hope's Peak's pick. I would probably expect them to play like King's Row. That generally tends to be a difficult map for Goofy Goobers. They have a bad history with that map. They generally like to go to Hollywood, if nothing else, if they get the opportunity. Which actually usually they do get the opportunity because they're the ones who pick it normally. So
But they have the momentum on their side taking that first map. So it's a matter of, are they going to be able to plant their feet and take the next map, even if it's one that they don't really have the best history on? Well, only one way to find out.
yeah, definitely. Eevee, we really only got to see like more divey tanks from Eevee, so it's hard to say what their comfort zone is. They could certainly have a great Reinhardt. We don't quite know yet. Unfortunately, they're playing on level 4 accounts. I'm not sure how that got through, but that is the case. So I'm just watching as Hope's Peak is currently molding in match chat. So nothing new, you know. They are a little bit worse for wear though. Looking at that previous map, they didn't seem to stall the point out whenever they did have control, and they had a very difficult time taking it back, right? Especially with the Wrecking Ball compositions. Again, interesting to see Dashi not on the Diva. That's been like one of his go-to heroes. That's been where he made so many of his clutch plays in earlier weeks of this season, in season 3 in particular, back on Z9 for anyone who remembers. So really weird to see them. I guess again it's probably because Dashi's performed better on the Wrecking Ball in scrims, but it still feels weird to have your main tank and off tank and your off tank on main tank when you could just as easily switch them around. Looks like Goofy Goobers are going to be wanting to stick on defense, no attack. Okay, having the team.
A little bit of discord within the team. Now, I do have to give Raja some credit for shutting down Dashi. As you say, it did seem like a little bit of a, how do I phrase this? Maybe like a passive ball. Didn't really see him trying to commit himself to the point too much, but the few times that he did manage to get in there, try to stall out the point, I could just see every time that hack was coming through from Raja shutting down Dashi. He was more often than not the first to fall in those team fights. And I believe that's probably one thing that swung the momentum over on the side of Goofy Goobers was basically going into almost every team fight that they had on a man advantage with that 6v5. And then, having the damage from Phone on that Reaper, just managing to drop the supports more often than not. How he was finding the picks onto Adbon as a Pharah, I mean, those are typically two heroes that you don't see the eliminations roll through in that order. It's normally, the Justice raining down from above onto the Traitor's Reaper, those shotguns not having range, but what, 2-3 times we saw Adbon, I guess maybe running out of fuel or just trying to get maybe like a cheeky position on him. So the DPS of Goofy Goobers absolutely put in a little bit of work there, shutting down many of the good plays for their team. Here we are going in Teams Row. It looks like we have our decision of who will be attacking and who will be defending first.
Yeah, we did have Goofy Goobers finally give the decision from Jam to attack first. So you're going to see them in spawn first. In the past, when they've had to play King's Row, they've tried Shadow Dive, and occasionally you'll see a little bit of Brawl, but it's really hard to say. Whereas Hope's Peak, sticking with old, reliable, pretty standard, about as standard as it gets nowadays. So, I mean, you're not really going to be seeing anything too crazy in terms of strategies from Hope's Peak. It's really just hold the choke, disengage when you run out of resources, and wait for Goofy Goobers to make a mistake to May Wall or do something. I want to say they're not running out on Ryan Hogg, but I've seen crazier from this team, so I don't want to say that outright quite yet, but I'm skeptical. Okay, they're running out on the Wrecking Ball Roadhog, perhaps? Wrecking Ball
Wrecking Ball
Diva.
Diva.
With a Sombra Symmetra. Interesting. So I guess the Wrecking Ball and the Sombra go to Disrupt and the rest of the team teleports around. But it's already been scouted out. I mean, Eevee's already found in the backline, not really going to have as much movement as they might want.
Yeah, that's right. And Phone does swap off of the Symmetra onto that Pharah, just teleporting the team into place. The Goofy Goobers trying to regroup here, trying to put in a little bit of damage, see what they can do to break that Reinhardt shield. Fraja and Eevee stuck at the backline. They are spotted, but as it does seem to appear to be splitting the attention of Hope's Peak. Geode and Flawless getting hit with an anti-grenade here, denying a little bit of healing. The Goofy Goobers still not managing to find a pick, but they are keeping Hope's Peak very distracted. Amelia hovering in the air, managing to tick up the capture progress on the point. Hope's Peak moves over to contest on that, stop that from going in. Still, both teams looking to find that early pick. Flawless getting a lot of damage done on that shield. Dasha getting brought dangerously low. Both tanks on the side of Hope's Peak losing out their armor. First tick unlocked for Goofy Goobers. Permanent progress established on the point. Amplification Matrix comes out for Pixel Master to get some extra damage and healing out for the team, zoning out the members of Goofy Goobers, sending them back to the choke. They're holding on, just trying to wait that out. Adbon sending in a little bit of Icicle Spears, trying to freeze the team out, get a bit of damage. Phone is about to get that barrage online, and that is going to be the only ultimate on both teams for the moment after that Amplification Matrix. Is he going to find any value? We know he's going to be looking for it. There he is, starting to move into position. Vraja still in the back line, trying to do what he can to distract the team members. Oh, the Cowboy taking down Vraja with a nice headshot. Phone getting nanoed from Lupical. Does he go to drop the barrage? There it is, coming down. Does he find any value with it? Eliminates Geode as Eevee finds Flawless. Goofy Goobers getting the 6-on-4 match here. They should be able to roll in and establish control on that point. But Adbon says, hold on, you forgot about the weather forecast. Blizzard comes through. His term says, do you know what time it is? Zoning out the members of Goofy Goobers. Is he going to find any eliminations with it? Adbon throwing up that wall. Don't know if it was too late. Oh, massive 4-man EMP coming out from Vraja as he gets taken down from Term. EOC throws in that self-destruct, manages to find Pixel Master. The members of Hope's Peak are going down. Dashi throws in the self-destruct and answers back, finding EOC as Amelia rests his phone. It's not going to work though as Eevee takes down Term. A valiant effort from Dashi to try and hold on to the point here, but it's only a matter of time before he gets demeched and eliminated. But he buys enough time for Flawless and Geode to get back. Goofy Goobers wanting to capture this point, but Hope's Peak are still in the fight. Flawless immediately takes a metric ton of damage before he gets taken down from Eevee, as Eevee also drops the minefield. Geode getting hacked out and purple grenaded. Massive crowd control coming through there as Phone and Eevee with 2 melee kills onto the side of Hope's Peak. And that's it. The point is going to unlock, giving us the cart. As Adbon swaps over to the Soldier, giving us double hit scan. Seems like they want to try to shut down Phone as early as they can.
Yeah, that's really going to be the win condition coming into this. I didn't really get a chance to say it because, again, these fights are just lasting forever. But that first point was really going to depend on Term's ability to shut down Phone, and he didn't really ever get that opportunity. He ironically focused a little bit more on Vraja, and that's a really difficult decision to make when you're the McCree. You do have a lot of damage coming in onto Eevee. Yep.
A lot of damage coming into Eevee, but Phone answers back and says, hold on, you have double hit scan for me? Let me show you why that's not going to work. Drops both of the members of Hope's Peak. Phone getting nanoed. Little bit of a tempo nano coming out from Lupical to try and get that ultimate charge back up. Geode does drop that sound barrier. It immediately gets dropped, though, as the tanks from Hope's Peak get anti-grenaded. Flawless dropping dangerously low, and he does get brought down, but not before he takes out Lupical. Dasha getting demeched on point. Oh, a res coming through as Amelia picks Lupical back up, gets him back in the fight. Here we go. Now the cart is going to begin to move forward.
This has been a really good stall from Hope's Peak so far. I mean, mind you, they don't need to win a fight quite yet. They literally just need to stall the stall the point until it gets to overtime or thereabouts, and then win a singular fight. That's really all they need to do. They're coming up on so many ultimates, and Goofy Goobers have been forced to use ults left and right, so their economy is a little bit in shambles just because they can't get the cart moving. It doesn't matter if they're winning these fights if the point isn't progressing.
Phone with a cheeky early pick onto Adbon as Flawless drops an absolute earth-shattering earth shatter. I realized that I said that a little bit too redundantly. EOC throws in a self-destruct. Both self-destructs actually coming out, not managing to find anything unless you count EOC de-meching Dashi. Phone and EOC managing to get eliminations for the side of Goofy Goobers. That cart is going to continue to move forward. Geode putting in a valiant effort on point, but it does not work. Finds the pick onto Viraja, but Amelia picks him right back up and says, hey, we need your technology in here.
This is probably going to be second point for Goofy Goobers. Hopespeak might be able to touch, but I'm not sure if they really want to, as opposed to just getting a better defense for third point. 2 minutes and 54 seconds is not a lot of time coming into third point, especially the way that Hopespeak has been stalling. A little bit less so. Oh dear, well, the EMP...
Big four-man EMP. His Phone takes down Pixel Masters with that barrage. Term answers right back, though, taking down Phone. EOC dropping Adbon, Flawless dropping Amelia, Geode is getting hacked, a lot of back and forth trading with these teams, still going in the side of Goofy Goobers though. I may be speaking too soon there actually. Geode, Dashi, and Flawless putting up a big valiant effort. Eevee managing to find two more though. Nope, Goofy Goobers with a hack onto Geode are going to continue to move the cart forward a little bit. Immortality Field comes down for Pixel Master to keep Geode alive as he gets hacked. Adbon turning on that aimbot, trying to do what he can to get some eliminations. Does he find anything? He finds two, taking down Lupical and Viraja. That amplification in the Matrix in the back from Pixel Master, I'm going to raise a little bit of an eyebrow there. He might be wanting that back because it wasn't really utilized from anyone on his team. A lot of swaps coming through. Oh, Amelia.
Gets Geode really with staggered that. There. Unfortunate for them, but I mean, realistically, coming into this next fight, Hopespeak have so many ultimates online, and on top of that, they've been doing a really great job of keeping these fights even back and forth with the kills, if not in their favor, and really even a back and forth fight's going to be in the defense's favor at this point in the map.
Absolutely. They've got to just tick that time bank down. The more they tick it down, the better the win condition is for them when we flip around. Both teams trying to commit to an engagement here, or trying not to commit to an engagement, it seems like, as we're just going into a little bit of a poke fest. Phone rolls in, manages to stick that pulse bomb onto Dashi's mech. He takes a lot of damage, but he stays in the fight. Term taking down Phone, but getting traded out from Eevee. Lupical throwing out that Transcendence, keeping his team alive, keeping them in the fight. Adbon turning on that aimbot once again. Does he manage to get any value? Not in the slightest, as he gets detonated from Eevee's minefield. Absolutely massive EMP coming through from Viraja, but Geode is ready for it. Drops the sound barrier to keep his team in the fight. Flawless taking down Lupical, leaving Hopespeak in control of this fight as Pixel Master drops another amplification matrix. He's just got that ultimate on cooldown at this point. The ultimate economy is favoring Hopespeak though, so it looks like we're going to see another fight go their way. Goofy Goobers entering one fight territory here. They got to pull something out of their hat.
Yeah, and they really don't have anything to pull out. They're just going to have to work with whatever bare minimum normal cooldowns they have, which, I mean, given their composition, isn't really much. They gotta hope for a good... Not even hope for it, they need to have good target focus. Lupical needs to call his Discord targets, and they just need to collapse in on that, if they get the chance to.
Oh, Dashi throwing in that self-destruct to zone out the members of Hopespeak, but Amelia gets dropped in the process. So we are now...
They don't even touch!
Oh! Geode! Geode with a 6,000 IQ play. Eevee rolling in to try and touch that point and trigger overtime, but Geode with the massive Lucio boop sending him higher up in the air, and they don't get the chance for overtime, so that push is stopped right there.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've come to expect out of Geode. He's sadistic on the Lucio, and he wants everyone to know it. That's not necessarily the most defendable position on second points, right? Like, the cart pushed up a little bit further, but it really wasn't that far into third point. So if Hopespeak takes second, there's a good chance they're going to walk away with this map.
I believe that they could, in fact, walk away with it. Looks like we're seeing the same compositions roll through from both teams. The Hopespeak does have a little bit of time to mess around, switch their composition up being on the attacker's side, but Goofy Goober's still coming out with that Wrecking Ball Diva kind of aerial superiority distraction composition that they've been running. Do you think it's going to be enough for the defense?
Well, Term didn't really do too much to shut down the Pharah in particular. He was definitely focusing more on the Sombra, so that could be their death knell, if anything. Definitely going to like he's the only person on his team who can reasonably focus down the Pharah. So the McCree needs to be on phone like 24/7 until they're no longer in the sky.
Yeah, right.
But once that threat is gone, I mean, there's not too much that Goofy Goobers can do anymore. Because that is a good chunk of their damage, right? Viraja can't really secure kills by themselves. Neither can really anyone else unless Lupical gets like a really nasty anti-nade, which is possible. But I don't know how likely that is. And if you want to bank on that by itself.
All right. Yeah, and it looks like Hope's Peak does not want to bank on that by itself because Adbon does swap off of the Mei onto the Soldier. We do get a pause being requested by the Goofy Goobers. Sounds like one of the players may have had a bit of a software issue. Looks like they got it taken care of though because the pause countdown is starting and we are getting right back into the match. Now with the double hit scan coming out from Hope's Peak, they are hoping to shut down Phone, put a bit more pressure on him. Hope's Peak rotating through the hotel. Massive anti-grenade coming through, finding Flawless and Pixel Master. Doesn't really do enough to secure an elimination. Vraja gets brought dangerously low as Dashi gets slept. Vraja managing to hack Geode before he gets eliminated. Geode does get out of danger. Dashi getting anti-grenaded again, and he is going to get demacked up there in the upper hallway, so that's going to be a matter of time before he gets taken down. Oh, with a cheeky return elimination onto Lupical, though, so we still have a 5-on-5. Hope's Peak does manage to get 44% so far, so they have permanent progress on the point. Members of Goofy Goobers are being brought dangerously low all the way around. Turn putting out massive amounts of damage, but being given back a lot of damage in turn. No eliminations being found yet as Hope's Peak does continue to tick up. 2 ticks taken, Geode taking down Pharah, Dasha taking down the mirror on EOC, but Amelia puts phone right back up, says, hey, the sky is up there, let's go. And Hack, rather, going out onto Dasha, and nobody contests the point. Hope's Peak manages to take it right there. Not only do they take it, but oh my goodness, Flawless just rolling through the members of Goofy Goobers. Another pause being requested not long after. Oh wow, what is going on? Not just with the software, but in this game, these eliminations, the lack of touching. I don't feel bad about saying it at all. Are we watching like silver or bronze Overwatch here?
Anything's possible with these players. But realistically, they're very good and they know it, so they like to meme around quite a lot. But justifications aside, yes, this is very scrappy Overwatch. I mean, when you send your Lucio to be the anti-Pharah resource, then you know that things are getting a little bit wonky. Phone getting taken down, I think, twice to the Pharah. No, once to the Reinhardt and once to the Lucio. Geode then proceeds to hunt down Viraja to the end of the map and take them out as well. So it's just a whole mess, and it's working because this is a really good time bank for Hope's Peak. If you recall, Goofy Goobers had like what barely over a minute when they captured first point, so this is blistering pace in comparison.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely blistering pace. I gotta get a little personal here as, you know, I've talked about I main, you know, Zarya's and Pharah's myself, but Lucio is my top tier hero. He's the one I play the best on. He's my favorite one to play. Seeing a Lucio take down a Pharah gives me such personal joy in my soul. I absolutely feel for Phone, again, as I said, being, you know, when it comes to DPS being a Pharah main, but oh man, just Geode proving that, hey, just because I play a hero based on the ground, just because my name is based on Earth, does not mean I'm not afraid to get up in the sky and put some damage out. Don't know really what's going on. We're not really sure what's going on with the pause here. A little bit of communication going through between both teams. Looks like they might just be trying to sort out some more software issues.
Let's see. Reading through match chat. I got nothing. they're just spamming Spotify links and I don't know.
I think somebody might have had to step away from their computer for the moment. Now, as you said, Hope's Peak taking the blistering attack speed. How much of that can we attribute to Hope's Peak getting the eliminations that they needed, and also how much of that can we attribute to Goofy Goobers running a composition that doesn't really have stationary defensive capabilities? Because a large portion of the capture progress on the point there, so much of it was Goofy Goobers just not contesting it. I mean, they managed to roll in, roll through with the Wrecking Ball, the Diva. They would dive on, contest it for a little bit, and then jump right off. So, how much of that was them just basically giving up the point?
Yeah, the challenge with these Wrecking Ball compositions in tight corridors, basically like all of King's Row, is that the Wrecking Ball doesn't have a ton of room to displace. You can boop someone, but I mean, how far are they going to go as compared to like Hollywood or Eichenwald, say, where it's very open. So it's difficult for the Wrecking Ball compositions in this case, because really what they'd have to do is keep EOC on the point to contest, maybe rotate in and out between EOC and like Phone and Vraja, and then in the meantime, the DPS and Eevee really need to look for picks. It looks like we are going to be getting back into it. I'll bring it back into the game. There we go. So yeah, coming into this push, I mean, you have Hope's Peak pushing up so far. I mean, Adbond is basically at second point already. Lupical... What? I don't know where they jumped off, but they did. Having actually a little bit of a contest from EOC on the point, but that's not going to last more than a few seconds. Not the same kind of stall and veracity that we were seeing from Hope's Peak's stalls. I believe you're muted, Bramble.
Am I coming through now?
Yes.
All right, there we go. Now, Adbon,
I saw you talking.
Adbon dropping that tactical visor. Looks like it's going to be more of a zoning ult as he doesn't manage to find any eliminations with it. Phone swapping off of that Pharah onto the Mei, and Vraja having that EMP. There it is, coming out, finding 3 members of Hope's Peak as Dashy throws into self-destruct, manages to find Amelia, but not before Amelia takes down Flawless, leaving Hope's Peak with a single tank. Oh, Term trying to throw out that Deadeye, but doesn't find any value. More trade eliminations coming through for both teams. EOC demecking Dashy rather, as Phone manages to get that elimination. Goofy Goobers, it looks like, are going to manage to stall out here and reestablish control of the point.
Yeah, the main difference between this and when Goofy Goobers got to this point, though, is again, it's like 2 minutes extra almost. So Hope's Peak has a lot of time to build up the ultimates that they didn't really get to use. However, there is now a Mei on the side of Goofy Goober, so they're going to have to play a little bit more carefully, right? Term doesn't have as much pressure to perform as the Pharah Buster, but they are going to have to worry about Flawless getting too far up and getting walled from Phone.
Yep, and we do see another DPS swap. Vraja drops that Sombra in favor of the Cowboys, so we have a mirrored DPS composition. It looks like we have a mirror composition across all sides. Eevee dropping Adbon as Phone throws out the Blizzard to try and zone more out. Oh, an absolutely devastating Earth Shatter. The members of Goofy Goobers, though, still stopping that cart right before they're managing to check point B. Oh, a cheeky wall from Phone, trying to deny Dasha, sending himself into the drink, so he just says, hey, I'm going to go around it, send myself in, and reset with my team. Now we have Ultimate Economy.
The challenging part about this next fight is that neither team really has an ult economy. Like, Lupical has the window, they're definitely going to use that. Hope's Peak would have wanted to take a dry fight, but they're kind of forced to, obviously, but they're... At this point, okay, well, they can move it on that. I was going to say they need to play slower and build up ultimates, or they can just find picks like that.
Lupical throws out that amplification matrix, but it gets walled off from Adbon. Lupical having to throw out that immortality field to try and protect his tank from getting squished by Flawless, and it does work. Term managing to find that elimination on Phone, so Amelia drops the sound barrier to keep the remaining members of Goofy Goobers in the fight as Adbon throws down that Blizzard, does manage to drop Amelia in the process. The sound barrier is gone. Flawless getting counterpinned by Eevee, sending him into the cart, and it does allow Eevee to get the pick onto Flawless as Dasha throws in the self-destruct, finding Vraja on that Symmetra. Immortality field coming out from Lupical to keep the remaining members of Goofy Goobers in the fight, but Adbon finding an elimination onto both tanks of Goofy Goobers. A wall coming out from Phone to try and stop that fight from going in as Term finds the elimination onto Phone! Dasha taking down Lupical. The members of Hope's Peak should be able to capture point B right here, and there it is. The Ults kind of mirroring on both sides though, except for the self-destruct. So Goofy Goobers are going to do everything they can to try and commit into this fight. Hope's Peak pushing up past the win condition to try and hold the members of Hope's Peak back. Raja teleporting the members up
Oh,
onto that
he
high ground.
is very likely
Term.
going to fall, maybe?
Oh, Term throwing out that Deadeye. Does not find any value. The Shatter from Eevee being
They-
blocked by
oh.
Adbon's wall. And honestly, that's enough to not only stop the Shatter, but it does allow the members of Goofy Goobers to just not touch the point, sending us into a tie 1-1 as Hope's Peak takes King's Row, as you had said, not one of Goofy Goober's best maps.
That was brilliant. I completely forgot about the card progress. It was just like lost in my subconscious, but it was really good from Hope's Peak, Term, and Flawless to toss in the High Noon, to toss in the Shatter, in order to force Goofy Goobers back, because they don't want to engage into those, right? They don't have the resources to invest into that fight quite yet, and that gave them just enough time to keep two people on cart and walk it on in. That is basically all they needed to do. And that Hope's Peak looking pretty good. They're looking a little bit like what people expected of them coming into the season, where they were expected, to be up there with Powerhouse. And
Well, Hope's Peak managing to swing the momentum back in their favor after taking King's Row, tying up the series. We got to wonder, where are Goofy Goobers going to want to send it next? What could they do to try and get that momentum back on their side? Looking for that first match victory. You don't want to go a whole season without a win, so they're going to definitely pull all the stops that they can, put everything into their favor.
okay, we're actually having a little bit of a swap as well, as it looks like Nitai is coming in for Phone. Nitai actually having been traded from Hope's Peak, so I believe this is the first time they're facing their old team. I believe the map was called, yeah, Gibraltar. Will be the next map. Not too surprising there. Goofy Goober seemed to really like dive in general, right? So I was kind of expecting something like that. There's a decent amount of escort maps that you can get away with dive. So nothing too shocking. Being
Gonna be an interesting match, seeing what Natai is going to do against the old team. Absolutely, absolutely. Now, with the dive composition being a pretty valuable composition to run on Watchpoint Gibraltar for the side of Goofy Goobers, wonder what sort of composition is Hope's Peak going to try to counter that? I mean, they've been running a lot of Wrecking Ball Diva this series, but I don't know. Does that really seem to work out, a mirror composition on a map like this, or would you expect them to sort of set their feet in the sand, pull out maybe Reinhardt or a double shield composition, see what they could do there?
in the past, Hope's Peak hasn't shied away from playing Gibraltar. They generally sub-geoed out and knock on wood in, which is exactly what they did, because they want knock on the Brigitte, which tells me they're more than likely going to be playing double bubble. So they're going to be playing their own dive, is my guess. They can obviously swap over to the Brawl if they really wanted to or needed to, but my guess is they're going to stick with old reliable and stick on the double bubbles. No point in playing a composition without verticality on one of the most vertical maps in the entire game. So no real surprises. Oh, okay, we're having Geode swap back in, perhaps. So maybe they are considering something wonky. Because
They can hear us up here. They're trying to keep us on our toes, Zachary.
I hope not. We're on a 3-minute delay. OBS says we're on a delay. We better be on one. Either way, the fact that Phone is subbed out for Natai kind of tells me that Natai on Hope's Peak was generally like a Tracer specialist. They're probably going to want to play Tracer for either Vraja or Natai, and then have the other person on like the Echo or the Ash, maybe. Hard to say, because I think Natai and Vraja are both kind of hit skin, so probably like Tracer or Ash if I had to guess, but it's anyone's guess. In terms of like who could face Term in a Tracer duel, I'm not really sure. Actually, if Hopespeak even want to run a Tracer, they could just run like the Echo Ash and not deal with it and be reasonably fine.
Yeah, the Tracer Ash, honestly, a duo we've been seeing a lot of lately here in League Zero. A very much more synergistic DPS duo than you would expect. Now, looks like the teams may be considering another swap. Maybe not. We're just waiting to get in to the match here. Now, having the series tied up at 1-1, we're going to be going at least to a map 4 from here. What do you think Goofy Goobers need to do to try to get that momentum back on their side? Not just with like a sort of team composition, but like what sort of things do they need to be looking out for from Hope's Peak? And does having Natai, a former Hope's Peak player, does that give them sort of a additional advantage of having, for lack of a better term, a former inside man?
I don't think one DPS player would make all the difference, in all honesty, as we get into the map. I think, honestly, what Goofy Goobers need is to just have more target focus, right? You're seeing a lot of these fights get really scrappy, and it turns into just the clock getting run down. Then once you get to third point, on points like King's Row, like Gibraltar, maybe even second point in Gibraltar's case, because it can be so stall heavy, it gets a little bit awkward for Goofy Goobers because they no longer have a ton of time to push the cart, and the room for error becomes significantly less. Yeah, no surprises that we're seeing, or a tease of double bubble. It looks like the DPS from Host Peak perhaps thinking of swapping. Yeah, okay, there we see term on the Tracer, like I was guessing, and pretty much everything as expected. As for Goofy Goobers, they're in spawn, so don't take it too seriously yet. If they run out of this, they're probably gonna have a rude awakening as to the efficacy of this composition they're currently teasing. But it's probably just gonna be for a cheeky hook, and then go back and swap to a dive comp. I highly doubt they're gonna try and run a bunker composition on the offense of Gibraltar, maybe on the defense. Yep, no, there you go, there's the swap. And
Halt
back
hook
to
combo
dive.
thrown out. There it is, the dive. So Adbon on the Soldier, Natai on the Ashe. A little bit of a mix-up on the hit scans, but Adbon finding the very early pick on Natai with those Helix rockets, finding tremendous value. Vrasha trying to push that cart in a little bit, does have to drop the recalls, he takes a good bit of damage. Adbon getting slept on the high ground. Vrasha still continuing to push that payload in. Bit of a battle going on up here in this higher ground as members of Goofy Goobers are pushing out, getting a bit of damage in. That dynamite from Natai sailing wide, not going to find any value there as Adbon puts a little bit of damage back on him, saying, "Who are you to throw dynamite at me? Excuse you." No eliminations coming through. Vrasha, though, still pushing that payload forward. That's getting a lot of free, uncontested value. Whole 70 meters, 71 meters almost. Now the members of Hope's Peak falling back as the members of Goofy Goobers jump in to try and put a bit of a contest on there. Term eliminating Natai as Lupical throws in that nano, getting an electric monkey out on the field. Is he going to get any eliminations here? He gets hit with an anti-grenade, but he throws the Primal Rage in the process to try and stay alive. As Adbon throws out that tactical visor. Does not get eliminated. Pixel Master answering with an electric monkey on his own. Adbon does find Vrasha. Eevee getting slept as he tries to get out. Term finding the elimination on the Lupical. Flawless taking down Amelia and jumping in, trying to find more eliminations, but he does what he needs to do, stopping that cart. Hope's Peak managing to stop it just short of the capture point. Eevee brought dangerously low, but he does get out. Going to give his healers a nice chunk of ult charge here.
Speaking of ult charge, I mean, looking at Hope's Peak, they have a lot of resources to work with here. They can just pop the rally whenever they feel like. Yeah, there you go. And it's going to be really difficult to push into this if you're Goofy Goobers. They need to back up and wait for the armor to wear out. Luckily, they still have time, but again, they are wasting a lot of time by not taking these clean engagements like they need to.
Vrasha almost getting that back cap, doing what he can there. The tanks of Goofy Goobers getting hit with an anti-grenade on that last push, managing to get out. Amelia and Vrasha throwing their ults out. The supports of Goofy Goobers getting nice and armored up. Pulse Bomb doesn't find anything on the side of Vrasha. Members of Goofy Goobers pushing into the server room as another electric monkey gets thrown out and he gets slept immediately. He does get woken back up, trying to get that elimination on the Pixel Master, and he finds it, following up with an elimination onto Geode. This man is very angry. Florida Man takes down 2 support players. Oh, and a massive grab coming out, sending all of the members of Goofy Goobers into a little bit of a black hole as Bob and the self-destruct come out for Goofy Goobers, giving them the capture point. Bob just kind of chilling in the background before he jumps away, cartoon style. EOC getting back in the mech. No swaps coming through, but point A going for Goofy Goobers. They are moving into the hangar.
I can feel Pixel Master's pain with
Oh,
the monkey getting woken up so often from a really nice couple of sleeps. Really unfortunate there. Natai, what I have to assume to be just typing in match chat, perhaps, because they're not moving and I have match chat hidden. Okay, maybe they're DC. Maybe I got it
maybe,
on stream.
maybe pause being pause being called. Looks like it could be.
Oh,
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 Natai and Vraja, unfortunately, getting DC'd from the game. It looks like. Oh, that is
well.
not going to be fun.
that's that's not good. I hmm. I wonder. Occasionally, we'll have players that know each other IRL and are from like the same hometown or whatever. They bring their friends in. Uh, so I wonder if Natai is someone that like Vraja brought in and they happen to know each other. Because if they're like they live close by and there's a power outage, that could be catastrophic. Especially because it's two people the exact same role. So I don't know.
Don't really know what's going to happen there. The MVP of this match, unquestionably looking like the support crew behind the scenes, hitting these pauses. Absolutely. 4 pauses in a game, they're padding their stats right here. Seems a bit unfair. Now, according to the match chat looking from both teams, it seems like there is an internet outage for the two DPS players of Goofy Goobers. We got to wonder, are we going to see
Oh,
two?
wait. I think uh, if match chat is to be believed, Natai and Vraja are actually brothers. Wait, oh dear. So I'm not sure what's going to happen here. It's up to the teams, right? Like, that's the nice part about handing off hosting to the teams. Like, they can decide to take the
They can
four,
figure out.
they can decide to take it, and as league admin, I no longer have to deal with like, oh, sorry guys, you have to take the 4v6. Nope, that's on them. I'm just here to cast and stream.
Your your plate is full enough. Absolutely no arguments from my side. Tossing a little bit of responsibility over to the teams. Now, being the production head, you obviously would have the final say on this, but I think it would probably be in everyone's best interest to go to a little bit of a break right here while we see what gets situated from the teams.
Yeah, we'll go to a little bit of a break, so stick with us, folks, while we get this sorted out. Hopefully, it won't take too long. And we are back. It looks like they're both back in. Unfortunately, Goofy Goobers lost both of their DPS ultimates, so that's going to be very difficult for them to push in.
A little bit of a team fight kicking up in the upper levels of the hangar. Yep, no surprise there. It is going to swing in the way of Hope's Peak as they did have the man advantage at that time. Vraja jumping right back onto the cart though, getting that cart moving forward, getting a little bit more progress with members of Goofy Goobers. Now, the Ultimate Economy, as stated, does unfortunately favor Hope's Peak here. So we're going to have to see what strategy Goofy Goobers will employ to try to get back in this battle. Amelia does have the rally, but Geode is about to be answering with his own. So a bit of an armor duel going to come through here for both teams. Adbon with a nanoed tactical visor coming out immediately finds that elimination onto Amelia. The healing does come through for the side of Goofy Goobers, but not unfortunately enough to take Eevee, or to keep Eevee up. EOC getting demeched, and the members of Hope's Peak, very cheeky, just stop firing immediately.
Oh no.
Rasha takes down Term, and Adbon answers in kind with some Helix rockets before Flawless does the merciful thing and puts EOC out of his misery. So Goofy Goobers with 2 minutes left, and support ults online, going to have to try to make something happen to keep their momentum.
Normally the soldier pick is a little weird because he doesn't have a lot of burst damage. He's one of the few DPS that are almost purely just sustained damage. And it's so difficult to get kills, right? Outside of the Helix rocket, but Adbon's actually been doing a rather good job with it.
Now, the members of Goofy Goobers sending in a nanoed monkey, forcing Geode to pop that rally. Doesn't find any value on either side, but Amelia does pop the rally for the members of Goofy Goobers, armoring them up. Still looking for some eliminations as Natai sends in Bob. He does immediately start to get some damage out, but not before he gets slept. Brasha finds the mirror elimination onto Term as Dashi throws in the self-destruct to zone the members of Goofy Goobers off of the point. No value being found there. An anti-grenade finding Eevee. Brasha as well, but he manages to recall to clear that status. Getting brought dangerously low. Does he get eliminated? No, he does not. Term coming out with that Bastion. Is he going to find any value here? Adbon with another tactical visor. Somebody needs to check that man for ultimate charge boosting, because he is just throwing visor after visor. Term finding Braja. The pulse bomb not going to find anything. Flawless getting nanoed, and EOC getting nanoed in Term. In turn, Term, finding the eliminations though. Does get brought down in the process as Flawless squishes Amelia down as Adbon taking down Natai, giving Hope's Peak the victory here. Adbon getting dropped with that anti-grenade, denying him any healing. Lupical manages to throw an anti-grenade back at Pixel Master. EOC, Baby Diva running in. There it is, knowing its fate is death. The Baby Diva knows no fear, so he gets dropped down. EOC has that self-destruct, going to try and do what he can with that to maybe zone the members of Hope's Peak off. Maybe find Term, because that Bastion is just going to throw damage down onto the members of Goofy Goobers. A little bit of an engagement happening in the ship. Doesn't find anything. Dashi does manage to remech here, so we're going to see he might be able to get that self-destruct online. A bit of an engagement happening in the back half of the hangar. Overtime is triggered thanks to Eevee. Flawless throwing out the angry monkey. He does manage to take down Nitai. Vraja getting anti-grenade and taken down from Pixel Master. Flawless again finding another angry monkey pick onto Amelia. The self-destruct comes out from EOC, but it doesn't find anything. He gets back in mech and gets immediately slept, immediately demech. Dashi throws up the self-destruct right back as Term manages to find EOC. Amelia swapping over to that Lucio to try and get back to the cart, but it is too little too late. The cart is going to be stopped at a 1.5 for Goofy Goobers.
Not a terrible push. Second point is very holdable, but not great. It's starting to look a little bit more in favor of Hope's Peak. We'll see the golden box of victory appear in just a moment. Well, closer to 20 seconds, but either way. Hope's Peak is looking really good ever since they've been locking the legs. I'm not saying there's a causation there, but you know, I'm not saying that's not happening. But in all reality, it looks like Hope's Peak is just kind of picking up the tempo, having better target focus, right? They're winning a lot of these fights. They're taking preemptive engagements, especially when they're on the defense, and that makes it really difficult for Goofy Goobers, especially on second point there, to get through those choke points and actually do anything with them. Probably going to be seeing the same a recent Roadhog strategy that we saw Goofy Goobers do. There's no reason not to. It takes about all of 3 seconds, and if you can get a pick off of it, it opens up the entire first half of first point, which is rather large. I wouldn't expect them to stay on the Orisa afterwards, though. Term... I want to say the Bastion is a meme, but it's Term.
It is Term, and having seen it pulled out on the defense, you gotta wonder, are the members of Hope's Peak going to be pushing for some sort of pirate ship composition? Nitai trying to get that early sniper elimination, does not manage to find anything. Adbon teleporting the members of Hope's Peak across. We are having an engagement on the bridge. Yeah, there it is. Term setting up on the payload. A little bit of a, not necessarily a pirate ship, doesn't have the wind in his sails, but he is going to sit on it and try and pour some damage out. The dive tanks from Goofy Goobers falling back a little bit into that side room. Don't want to get picked out too early from that bastion. More engagement coming down on that bridge. Adbon with that Symmetra are going to just massively charge up off of the shields of Eevee. The teleporter comes through from Adbon, sending members back and forth, managing to keep that payload going, keep the members of Goofy Goobers distracted. That payload still going, no eliminations being found yet. They do manage to force Term.
How did they not see Term? How does... Okay, there we go. Someone finally scouted them out.
Finally... Lupical throwing out the nano boost onto Eevee. Dasha getting DMAC from that Electric Monkey 2, Electric Boogaloo. Managing to get the elimination on Dasha. Adbon being dropped as well. Amplification Matrix comes out from Term. Oh no, the damage is going to be pouring through from that Bastion. He's going to find an elimination. He does. He finds Amelia. Eevee going in with the Angry Monkey trying to disrupt the team. Massive wall coming up from Adbon trying to protect everyone that he can. Oh, we have another DMAC here. Term taking down Eevee, but EOC does manage to get that elimination on Term. But the card's still moving. The members of Hope's Peak are just kind of sitting around on it. Vrasha finally moving into contest. Nitai swapping over to that Hanzo.
No.
Flawless dropping out that bongo drum. A lot of damage boost coming through. Pulse bomb coming down from Vrasha. Manages to find that teleporter from Adbon. Oh, Amelia managing to get eliminated from Flawless as Geode pops that rally. Here we go, a massive self-destruct coming out from Dasher. Does it find anything? It does not, but it zones out the members of Goofy Goobers. Term, here we go, tank configuration activated. Finds the elimination onto Eevee. Immortality field comes down from Pixel Master. Oh no, two more picks as EOC throws out the self-destruct, and he does answer back with an explosion of his own onto Term. The Doomfist coming out from Adbon. This is just a massively disgusting brawl coming through. The members of Hope's Peak have not managed to capture point A yet. Goofy Goobers rolling in, getting that stall to what they need. Flawless eliminating Vraja. Adbon doing what he can with that Doomfist. EOC and Eevee, the tanks, the dive tanks going in, trying to establish a foothold on the point. And they might be able to do it. Flawless, nice big pile driver there with his adaptive shields. Doomfist getting drops from EOC. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, here it comes. That denial from Dasha, stopping those dragons in their tracks. Vraja fighting the pulse bomb elimination onto Term. This is a disgusting fight, Acri. It's the most drawn out fight I've ever seen. Dasha getting knocked out of his mech. Geode getting dropped from Eevee. Flawless fighting Vraja. Nitai fighting Adbon. The cart, however, still has not taken point A. The members of Goofy Goobers are holding on, bringing us down to a minute. And this fight is just absolutely wild. Oh!
Hope's Peak kind of pulled a Goofy Goobers there. They didn't want to give up. They just kept going in, and it killed so much of their time bank that now they have almost a full sail swap on their entire team. They have really only the mines and the rally coming up soon. And you look at the defense, and they have a ton to work with. Amelia's going to have the Transcend. How do you answer a Transcendence in this case if you're Hope's Peak? I don't know the answer to that.
Lupical sending in Eevee, getting him nanoed for that little bit of damage reduction. Doesn't manage to find any eliminations with it. Geode answering in kind with that rally, giving his team members some armor. Adbon with the pick on Vraja, giving Hope's Peak the man advantage here. Minefield coming out from Flawless, so they will be able to push that cart in without a lot of resistance on the side of Goofy Goobers. Nitai with that Discord Orb being brought dangerously low, and Geode with a whip shot to the face, taking him down. As Brigitte herself says, mace to the face. Emilia throwing out that Transcendence. The members of Goofy Goobers now have a little bit of a healing pool to work with, a little bit of a cushion. They managed to hold on a little bit. Dashi and Term having ultimates online, EOC having that self-destruct. There he is, throwing it up. Dashi and Term finding the eliminations on Hope's Peak. The man advantage coming through, the eliminations coming through. Dragon Strike coming out from Nitai, doesn't get eaten this time. Manages to put out a lot of damage, but he doesn't find any eliminations. Hope's Peak in overtime, committing a good amount of ultimates there. They are going to manage to capture point A and send us into the hangar. Are we going to see some swaps coming through?
Gets extremely staggered, and actually so does Amelia. I'm not sure whether they got the bad spawn or they're just trying to appeal for Lupical. Natai actually locking the legs, though. So it's now an official duel. Unfortunately, if you look at Hope's Peak Ultimate Economy, it's pretty gnarly. Goofy Goobers don't have too much to answer back with. Raja's going to have to find something with this pulse bomb.
A little bit of a tank fight going on top of the ship as the members of Goofy Goobers are being pushed back a little bit more. Nitai doing what he can with those legs up top. Vraja getting dropped by Flawless for the first pick in this fight. Here we go, Adbon throwing out that tactical visor, rather, as Dashi takes down Eevee with those rockets. Massive anti-grenade denying
Oh
healing of the
no!
members of Hope's Peak, and a massive minefield as self-destruct gets thrown in from Dasha. It does find Itai as Geode finds EOC. Members of Hope's Peak are getting the eliminations they need, and Vraja with a disgusting pulse bomb managing to find two,
They
but it
can't
doesn't work. It can't
touch.
be. It is not to be. The members of Hope's Peak are going to take map 2 because once again the members of Goofy Goobers, they don't touch the cards. What is happening here, Acri? I gotta go check my blood pressure after this. This is just. I'm getting secondhand stress just from watching this match.
Jam, I can feel your pain. Jam, the manager of Goofy Goobers, is probably on some sort of blood medication after this one, because this is really rough. Hope's Peak pulling it out in the weirdest of ways possible. But I mean, at the end of the day, if it works, it works. So if you're Hope's Peak, you take those and you run as fast as you can, right? But if you're Goofy Goobers, you gotta question what's going wrong. If I had to guess, like the coach instinct in me says that there's probably not any communication for who's going to touch, and then people die. Or if there is communication of who's going to touch, it's like just one person, like, oh no, I got touched, and then that person dies, and they just don't have anyone to step up after that. And that seems to be, if I had to guess, like what's causing these frantic last minute touches that aren't there in time. It's just so weird because this happened every map after Lijiang at this point, and now we're going into 2CP. Maybe Goofy Goobers can go back to the old reliable of the Orisa compositions. Actually, you do have Eevee swapping out, so maybe does that mean owners
Uh,
coming back in?
it could be. I did notice in the match chat, Evie did say it seemed he had to restart his computer
Oh,
or
never
something
mind.
to
Yeah.
that
Okay.
effect. So we might be a couple of minutes as the teams try to decide what map we are going to be going to for our assault contention. Here we go. Evie is now back in the game. Still no selection on the map pick, no substitutions coming through on either team. It's probably not going to happen until we decide what map we're going to. However, Hope's Peak, they've got the momentum. They're up 2-1 right now. They may be denying Goofy Goobers a chance to get their first win.
Yeah, and
Excuse me.
I'm not sure what Goofy Goober's chances are if they can't take this game, right? Because this is the next closest opponent they have in their division. Axolotl and Powerhouse are kind of on like that next tier above these two teams. So there is still one more game in the regular season, and then of course every team, because it's only a 4-team division, makes it into the postseason. But Goofy Goobers is almost certainly starting in the lower bracket. So they kind of want to get a win under their belt before the playoffs come, right?
Right.
Because I mean,
You
I'm pretty
don't
sure
want to go into
Hopes.
playoffs with no wins.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hopes Peak will be their opponents in the playoffs, assuming like the standings stay the exact same through next week. So if they can't win now, that brings up a lot of concerns for Goofy Goober's chances in the playoffs. Like they're not a bad team, but it seems to me that they're having trouble closing it out, and it feels like a coordination thing. It feels like the team is split. Like oftentimes I'll see Viraja or Phone or Natai off trying to make a play, trying to cause a distraction, and then the rest of Goofy Goobers tries to engage. Not a bad plan on the surface, but you are leaving your team to fight a 5v6 if you're that one person playing the distraction. So it causes a little bit of trouble when the distraction isn't as viable as you thought it was. And then the team just kind of like, oh, they're 5v6 right now. Let's just jump in onto them and ignore the person behind us. And this happens too often to not be part of the problem, right? I'm sure there's a communication issue. I'm sure there's like a strategic issue in there somewhere, but it's very hard to say without like knowing the inside of the team. So at the very least, what we can see is like they're trying this strategy of like distraction and engagement, and it's just not working.
It definitely, like you said, it definitely sounds like, a viable strategy on paper. It's just a matter of the execution. And the members of Hope's Peak, honestly, it seems like they are anticipating it to a degree because they managed to shut it down every single time. I have yet to, at least off the top of my head, I have yet to see such a strategy work in this series. So you got to wonder, are we going to see any sort of mix up from the strategy? Are they just going to are they going to give us the definition of insanity and keep doing the same thing and hope that they get different results every time? I, I mean, that's up for Goofy Goobers to decide. Now, they have chosen to send us to Temple of Anubis for our assault map, our 2-point CP, and we do see Vraja getting subbed out for Phone. So we've got Nitai and Phone on the side of Goofy Goobers. No other substitutions rolling in on either team, so it's just a matter of waiting to see when we go in, who's going to be attacking, who's going to be defending, and is Goofy Goobers going to continue to try this distraction 5v6 composition, this 5v6 strategy? And I may have spoke too soon, actually, as Scorch and Amelia get swapped. So Amelia is out, Scorch coming in for the side of Goofy Goobers. What does
Okay.
that say to you?
Scorch is generally more of a specialist. Um, from what I recall, in, like the preseason Pugs for scouting, uh, they played a little bit of flex support, mostly like Baptiste. So they kind of swap between like main support, flex support. I don't know if that means they're actually going to try and play like a bunker with the Baptiste and Brig or something like that. Looking at their current profile, it's mostly Baptiste and Ana, a little bit of Lucio here and there. Generally, they send in Scorch for 2 CP, if I recall, so it is definitely more of a specialist position. Um, Interestingly enough, like we said, Phone coming in for Vraja. Uh, Feels like they're kind of playing musical chairs with their DPS, but knowing that they all have slightly different hero pools, it's probably more strategic than that. I'm going to give Jam a little bit more credit than just saying they're switching things around and being like, what's happening? But at the very least, maybe it does something. Honestly, if Goofy Goobers want to change up something about what they're doing, I would honestly just say put Lupical and Ana, play a little bit passive, wait for a nade, engage. None of this like 1-1-5 split stuff. Just like stick together, maybe on off angles, flanks, but like mostly stick together, dive in together. Because like you're creating openings, they're winning fights. We're seeing them do decent, but it's not enough to fully claim victory like they want. Right? They've outside of Lijiang, they've fallen short quite a lot. And if they just play a little bit more together, I get the feeling they could do a lot better in actually playing to their win conditions, right? Instead of like having win conditions, but not really capitalizing on them.
Right. Yeah. That it's definitely, you know, it's definitely a struggle seeing their strategy that it seems like they've put a lot of work in because their execution, barring interference from the enemy team, is actually pretty spot on. They do manage to set up their positioning. They do manage to engage. Everything is going right with their 1v5, if not for the fact that the members of Hope's Peak just managed to see it coming and to get those eliminations. To now sending us into the Temple of Anubis, it looks like the members of Goofy Goobers are going to be our first attackers.
Yeah, Goofy Goobers on the offense. Been on that side of the screen since second map. They run the other side for Lijiang, but anything to make my life easy. I personally enjoy casting a little bit more than producing games, but I kind of have a mild obligation being production head. Unfortunate, but
We'll just call it a small
that
one.
is that is the world we live in. So yeah, we do have Hope's Peak on the bunker. No real surprises. I mean, why not? The one shocker for me is that Adbon isn't on the Junkrat. That feels like a no-brainer. However, knowing that Goofy Goobers likes to play the more divey compositions, get in your face, Adbon on the Reaper is certainly not a bad pick, especially if he plays it correctly. Meaning just kind of patient, hugging his supports, and just creating an impenetrable backline, right? It's going to make it very difficult for them to really exist, whereas Term is going to make it difficult for any flankers or whatnot. We're seeing double bubble on the side of Goofy Goobers, so Phone's probably going to have a difficult time with the turret. The Tai and the EV are going to have a very difficult time running into this Reaper. It's too much damage to deal with.
So we're going to have to see what happens if Goofy Goobers decides to throw out any sort of swaps. Right now, it seems like they're going to commit to it. Looks like they're trying to swing around. Yep, there it is. They're heading over into that left side of the room to get that control over the Mega Health Pack. The bunker's still holding quite strong. Members of Goofy Goobers slowly, one at a time, making their way over. Eevee holding back, looks like he might try to dive on the team after the rest of his teammates engage. The fight spilling out into the courtyard. He goes jumping in. Some sticky bombs going out from Phone. Eevee finding the Immortality Field, and then with the pick onto Pixelmaster. Adbon evening things back up with a pick onto Nitai, but EOC drops Geode as the teams begin to engage. Here we go. The members of Hope's Peak are beginning to fall. The turret goes down, and that leaves Adbon to slowly get whittled down from the members of Goofy Goobers. Does not look like there will be a recontest here for Hope's Peak, so that is going to be point A going the way of Goofy Goobers.
That was a lot better. That's more like what I was saying that they should do with their dives, right? You had Eevee on a weird off angle if they're going to try and like pincer Hope's Peak, but instead they just waited for Hope's Peak to take the bait, engage on the 5v6 like they always have been, but then Eevee jumps over the wall and suddenly it's a 6v6, and it was fully into Goofy Goober's plan. That's exactly what they wanted to do.
And the positioning on that first dive was amazing too, because it took the turret out of the equation. Eevee jumps in, getting nanoed. Dasha eating EOC's grab, but it doesn't really matter because Eevee manages to Angry Monkey take down Geode, the drum, setting up Phone for the pick onto Adbon. EOC does get taken down not long after his grab, but the members of Hope's Peak are just falling like a house of cards here. Phone duplicating that Orisa as Dasha sends in that self-destruct, managing to zone the members of Goofy Goobers out. He knocks Phone out of the duplicate. The fight now turning into a little bit of a poke, a little bit of a brawl. The Phone and Eevee dropping dangerously low. Pixelmaster having to throw out that Immortality Field to keep his team alive. Term getting dropped in the process. Geode throwing out that rally to keep the armored up members of Hope's Peak in the fight, and it does work as Adbon manages to find that Death Blossom double kill onto the tanks of Goofy Goobers. Pixelmaster and Dashi following up not long after, and that push is over. A stagger kill onto Nitai and Lupical, courtesy of Flawless, as Term swaps over to the Cowboy. Whoo, boy, that was a fight right there.
Yeah, definitely. That was honestly looking really good to start from Goofy Goobers, but eventually, once they started throwing out ultimates, their target focus definitely lacked. No one felt like they were really shooting at the same target. And they ended up wasting, well, not really too many ultimates. It was just the Grav and then the duplicate, really. The Primal Rage is basically built up once again, and when you're looking at the defense, they're looking pretty solid, because Flawless can just pop the bongo, and that's going to force Goofy Goobers to rotate back around. But here again, you're seeing another split from Goofy Goobers, unless they can collapse all in at once, which they kind of do, so all in all fairness to them, that was pretty good.
An immediate trade as Nitai and Geode are dropped, leaving us with a 5v5. That Electric Monkey rolling in, trying to put out a lot of damage. EOC dropping dangerously low. Evi does find Pixel Masters, but again, another trade as EOC goes down. Flawless and Lupical being dropped. More trades rolling through. Term going down. Finally seems to give the man advantage over to Goofy Goobers. But Hope's Peak have the defender spawn here. They're going to be able to try and get right back in this fight. But Goofy Goobers are finding the eliminations. The capture progress is starting to tick up. Pixelmaster throwing down that amplification matrix to put some extra damage out onto the point. Managing to zone it out. Adaptive circuits are being engaged.
Why the dupe?
He finds the Doomfist, gets that elimination, or gets that duplicate rather. Goofy Goobers getting the more eliminations, but Adbon coming out onto that Bastion, just managing to pour damage out onto the point. Finds Eevee, but it doesn't really get much value otherwise. A Grav being sent out doesn't really find any members, but the capture point ticking up. We do get a contest at 96%. Pixelmaster on that, Lucio doing what he can. Dasha getting DMAXed and going down from the tie as Lupical finds the mirror elimination and giving the capture at 2.5 minutes to the Goofy Goobers.
At first, it felt like very questionable of Goofy Goobers to invest yet more ultimates because they had lost Eevee, they had lost, I believe, Scorch at one point, and it looked like, you know, a losing fight. Generally, if it's an even fight in 2CP, second point defense, you know, the defense is going to win that. You know, but Goofy Goobers somehow brought it back and made the ultimate investment worthwhile, and they actually ended with a pretty solid time bank. 2.5 minutes on Anubis is actually quite good. Like, it's not the hardest 2CP in the world. I'd say Hanamura probably takes that cake, but it certainly is very difficult to capture with above a minute, and you have over double that. That's pretty good. Now we're seeing Goofy Goobers have a more stereotypical defensive composition with the Junkrat, the Ash, the Devil Shield. Nothing too shocking here. And then it looks like Hope's Peak are going to be going probably for the stereotypical dive. I'd expect to see Term on like the Tracer. Adbon actually going over to the Soldier. I'm not sure how much that's going to help them, but I've been saying that almost every single map, and he's proven me wrong. So I guess as long as they have the Nano Visor, it's probably worth something. Although, in fairness, Goofy Goobers weren't playing double shield previously, so that could very easily turn.
He does drop the Soldier in favor of the Cowboy, so we are going to see kind of a little bit of a compositional swap. Nitai tries to get a little bit of damage up from that high ground, doesn't manage to find a lot, gets a little bit of ult charge going. So now the members of Hope's Peak, ooh, Term almost getting dropped as he takes a very risky play to get into that side panel. Scorch throwing that shield bash, knocking himself off of the high ground. That seems like it might have been a misclick.
Probably, yeah.
Now Geode with that Guardian Angel gets him into the side room. EOC rolling around to try to contest the members that have made it through onto that side choke point. Oh, Flawless trying to jump in, but the coach gun from the Tide denies that, and Lupical manages to secure that elimination. So this push might already be done from the side of Hope's Peak. It looks like the members might be backing out. Yeah, the the Mercy Echo rather, stuck in the high ground in the back, trying to get a little bit of poke damage out, but for the most part they're just kind of playing slow, playing safe. There we go. Flawless is back with his team. The members of Hope's Peak are ready to re-engage. This might be actually a smart play from the side of Hope's Peak as they're splitting the attention of the Goofy Goobers. The Nanoed Winston going in, trying to build up that Primal Rage as fast as they can. A lot of CC though, knocking him around, not really letting him get a lot of charge out. Dashi finding the picks, but getting picked in the process. Adbon finding a pick, Eevee finding a pick, Adbon finding two rather, and he does keep the elimination man advantage onto the side of Hope's Peak. The amplification matrix coming down from Lupical in a very awkward position out there in the back. Term duplicating the Sigma. Hey, it might work in this enclosed space.
This could be lethal.
Absolutely, there it is. The Immortality Field being dropped. He does manage to throw down Lupical and gets the pick onto Evi. EOC going down. Hope's Peak is going to capture point A. Nitai dropping to try to contest, but it's too little too late. Doesn't really mean much though, as he's going to get that fast respawn that the defenders get on 2-point CP. Ultimate Economy though is in favor of, actually it looks like it's going to be in favor of Hope's Peak. I was about to say Goofy Goobers, but I could also rather be even. Well, I don't know, there's a lot of different places it could go right here.
The DPS ultimates on Goofy Goobers definitely tells me that they have the advantage here. I mean, the Riptire is almost guaranteed to get a pick because Hope's Peak don't have a Baptiste, and the Bob is the ultimate contention tool.
Now Bob does get slept on point. Phone's tire kind of stalling out, trying to see what he could do to find anything with that. Still in play, doesn't find anything. Scorch throws out the rally, and a nasty tire takes down the DPS of Hope's Peak. That right there is going to stop the push in its tracks. Scorch might be wanting that rally back because it seems like he may not have needed to pop it. EOC, oh wow, EOC is a raid boss with some armor, some shielding from his kinetic grasp. Phone and Eevee finding Phone and Flawless taking down some members of Hope's Peak. This push is going to be brutal.
Look at this hold where Goofy Goobers are standing. They're standing in front of the choke point. Now, I wouldn't really advise that because you're kind of giving Hope's Peak the advantage that you want. But I mean, it shows their level of confidence right now with this composition. EOC has the Gravitic Flux, Lupical has the Baptiste Matrix if they really want. And Hope's Peak doesn't really have too much. They can toss in the bomb, maybe, but especially with Term falling, that's just a quick disengage, right? You still have time. There's plenty of opportunities coming up. Okay, Adbon, we see you.
Oh, they get the res. Adbon finds Phone, and Dashy's self-destruct manages to take down Eevee. With Term eliminating Torch, that return pick onto Adbon isn't going to do much for the members of Goofy Goobers. Hope's Peak has the man advantage. They have the numbers. An amplification matrix comes out for Lupical as Pixel Master sends in another nanoed monkey. Dasher manages to take down EOC.
No.
Phone pulling out the bastion of his own, but he gets immediately dropped. Hope's Peak saying, hey, that's our strategy. You don't get to use it. Term duplicating that bastion. So it's the same thing that they do regularly. There we go. The members of Hope's Peak do manage to get off a res onto Dashi. Term with that tank configuration taking out Nitai and Lupical. It's not going to be long before they capture the point, and there it is. Both teams capturing with over 2 minutes is going to bring the time bank down to give the lower amount of Goofy Goobers down to 2 minutes. We're seeing a lot of "you're not that guy, pal" in match chat. Oh boy.
Leave it to Term. You know, he picks
Leave it to Term to play Bastion.
He picks a lot of unorthodox compositions. I was gonna say from time to time, but that's just kind of his basic state of being. And the fact that they allowed him to do that is ridiculous, and I love every second of it. It's utterly stupid, and it's the kind of thing that I live for, right? So coming into this next round, both teams teasing either the dive or the double bubble. Winston compositions all around. Not too shocking. The bunker really didn't work. The time banks were pretty massive for both offenses. Got whittled down, obviously, to 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Effectively, it's the same. That's not going to yield you any more time in terms of getting an extra fight. So basically useless. It only determines that Goofy Goobers are going to attack first. And they're going to have a pretty strong offense, right? I believe the first time around they ran the Diva instead of the Zarya. But the double bubble might give them a little bit of extra edge. You know, the Zarya has a little bit more damage, maybe a little bit more peel for the monkey. So, hard to say. Depends on how they approach this, especially with Hope's Peak not having... Oh, okay, they're going back. And they're swapping to a brawl. So
a lot of swaps coming
scouted the dive on the defense, and they decided, you know what, let's brawl this. Which is, like, one of the first times I've seen them play brawl outside of King's Row. I think almost ever. So, really interesting choices here.
There we go, they're speeding in. A Symmetra Teleporter coming down to get them onto the point. Phone throwing up that May wall to try and zone out the members of Hope's Peak, and it does manage to work to displace them, but a big anti-grenade comes through, hitting both tanks of Goofy Goobers. Having to throw down the Immortality Field just to keep them alive is Lupical. Flawless, however, drops that Immortality Field almost immediately, and he throws the Angry Monkey down in such an enclosed space. Oh, he is just going to be beating everyone down. Test that man for steroids as he finds 3 eliminations, guaranteeing the team kill.
However, Goofy Goobers did make a good amount of use of their time. They got almost half of first point, so a win condition is set, / lost condition, right? Because if they get no more percentage, there is no more draw. If they capture first point, then we can start talking about draws again. But this is looking rather good for Goofy Goobers. They have the window. They just need to not get anti-nated. Same old, once again. That's an early lamp.
Flawless. Flawless getting nanoed again. As you said, an early lamp goes down. Lupical does have that amplification matrix. Geode throws out that rally to give his team some armor to be able to push into those enclosed spaces and contest. An absolutely disgusting anti-grenade finds 3 members of Goofy Goobers. So many ultimates coming down. Every single ultimate coming out from the side of Hope's Peak. Dasha managing to squish Phone with that remech. However, Eevee and EOC, the tanks of Goofy Goobers, are finding the eliminations to keep their team in this fight. We are entering overtime territory. There it is. It's going to be starting with the members of Goofy Goobers. It looks like they are going to be capturing this. Just a little bit of a cleanup onto Adbon, demeching Dasha, and there it is. They're going to get 30 more seconds to try and push in and do what they can on point B. And with that self-destruct, they may have a little bit of ultimate presence to get something done out of it.
Not just the self-destruct, but they're going to have the Shatter very soon. Phone and Lupical, if the fight drags on for a good amount of time, they're definitely going to have their ultimates. High Noon and Amplification Matrix build up rather fast, whereas on the defense it's really just Pixel Master with this nano boost. Like, who do you give it to? I guess Term or Flawless? The bomb coming in... Oh dear, Flawless falling so early. It's not a great start.
That gives the members of Goofy Goobers a man advantage. Adbon gets nano. They want to try to get that duplicate online as fast as they can. Phone pulling out the stopwatch, managing to find the flyers on the side of Hope's Peak. Then he manages to demech Dasha. On top of that, Phone is putting in the work. He gets eliminated by the Baby Diva, though. An absolutely massive shatter coming out from Eevee. Takes down one with Flawless as EOC manages to find Pixel Master. The members of Goofy Goobers might be able to capture the 2-point here. Push in overtime. Members of Goofy Goobers and Hope's Peak are swapping stall, but the members of Hope's Peak are just falling left and right. And there it is. Finishing in overtime. The members of Goofy Goobers are going to finish 4 points.
That was a statement. It's difficult to capture both points under normal circumstances, let alone with literally half the time. So this is going to be rather difficult. I'm starting to get the feeling we might be going to a map 5, because this is going to be very difficult. Not impossible, as we saw Hope's Peak have a stellar offense their first time around, but now you're starting to see things change up, right? So who's to say that Goofy Goobers aren't going to do something a little bit different and make it all the more difficult for Hope's Peak to take first point? I mean, hell, Hope's Peak tried something different on their defense and they just got a little bit over ambitious, right? They tried to get too far into the little corridor instead of just poking out, right? As long as they were in that little room, Goofy Goobers couldn't contest the point, and I think pushing in like that with Flawless getting taken out so early, and Eevee from there just kind of being allowed to cleave damage everyone with the Reinhardt hammer was perhaps not the best situation when they definitively had more poke damage on hand, especially with Adbon pressuring with the high noon. Like, they could just have stalled and poked for a good amount of time, not given Goofy Goobers the opportunity, and if they wanted to fight, it had to be on point, but instead they kind of came to them, which is exactly what Goofy Goobers wanted. Now, coming into this, they technically could build up to a Nano Blade, and they probably have enough time to do so, but, I mean, who do you blade? You have so many stuns and everything online. The one saving grace is they don't have double shield anymore. It's a D.Va instead of a Sigma, but losing the DPS isn't a great start.
Nope, that's going to stop that push in its tracks already. Flawless takes down that Immortality field from Lupical, but the team just continues to fall around him, himself included. So that first push is done. That time bank is ticking down. Pixelmaster halfway to that Nano, but Adbon does not have a lot of progress to that Blade, being the first to fall in the last fight.
Yeah, no, you're going to get Dashy back up with the mech rather soon, so that's not really too much of a concern. Thankfully as well, Goofy Goobers don't have something like a Junkrat, but phone on not quite her one trick, but one of her more fave. What heroes?
Oh.
What was that?
Geode being caught out by Phone. The Reaper puts in the work. Natai has that high noon online. The Immortality field comes down from Lupical, but Adbon falls again. Pixelmaster, Flawless, and Term all right behind him. That's another push that is going to be stopped cold. We are entering crunch time for the members of Hope's Peak. They do have the Nano. They don't have the Blade. They might be nanoing Flawless just to send him in to try to build up the Angry Monkey, zone the members out.
Honestly, that's probably the better option at this point. You're getting into one-fight territory. It's getting very dicey. And Goofy Goobers are coming up onto a lot of ultimates of their own, right? Like, Adbon's just going to have to deal with a Dry Blade or combo it maybe with a Primal Rage, because by the time they build that up, might have an opportunity. But at the very least, forcing Wraith out of phone is a good start. Like, they no longer have that resource, and they got to push it at some point. They got to do something with this advantage. But they also can't lose Pixelmaster, who's currently on 21 HP. So, you know, getting a little bit dicey, especially with the window coming out.
There it is.
Are you kidding?
As well as the Deadeye, the Self-Destruct, and the Death Blossom finding Pixelmaster. However, the members of Hope's Peak managed to answer back with a nice couple of eliminations there. Eevee finds Adbon, but goes down himself not long after. Phone finding dashes, so Goofy Goobers might be able to stay in this just a little bit more. But Geode picks Adbon back up. Term duplicates the D.Va as Flawless throws out the Angry Monkey. There it is. They are beginning to capture the point. Phone's the only one. They might be able to, with Phone being there close enough. He might fall in the process, but he will be able to touch it and trigger the... What is he going to? I don't know. He might be getting out. There it is. Scourge throwing out the rally, giving the team members of Goofy Goobers some armor to throw themselves back into this fight. Phone finds Flawless. The bongo drum being dropped by Eevee. Pixelmaster does find Phone, but that's the only elimination that they're finding. A self-destruct comes down from Dasha, and it finds Lupical. Geode putting Turn back into the fight, but falling in the process. The overtime timer ticks away, and we will be going to a map 5.
Because it wouldn't be a game between these two teams if it wasn't map 5.
History repeating itself again. 3-2 last time. We're going to map 5. It's going to be a 3-2 this time. Oh, an absolutely disgusting play of the game we're witnessing here. I'm pretty sure that's against the Geneva Convention right there. You just can't do that.
I think technically Overwatch itself is against the Geneva Convention, not the game, the in-game lore stuff.
The in-game lore.
Way. So that was a map.
That was indeed a map. We are going to be going to another control map for our map 5. We are going to be sending it to a quick break as the teams get set up for their 5th map. So stick with us. You do not want to see how this match is going to end. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to what is honestly one of the craziest matches that I have seen here in League Zero. Hope's Peak and Goofy Goobers are taking us for the second time in the season, taking us to a map 5. We will be going to Busan for our final control map. Goofy Goobers, they were in this position once before, last time against Hope's Peak, going to a map 5 in position to get that first win, that coveted first win of the season. So they're going to be pulling out what they can to secure that here. They have the momentum on their side as they did manage to take Temple of Anubis, our 4th map. So that is kind of where we stand. There's not really much else to talk about in there. We have no substitutions coming through on both sides. So this is going to be an exciting match. I have no other words for it. That's all I can contribute at this moment in time.
Yeah, well, it is worth noting that I'm like 99% sure the last meeting of these two teams went to Map 5 on Busan as well. I think it went the distance, but it's been like a month since then, so my memory could be failing me. I watch an obscene amount of Overwatch on the weekly, so could very easily be mistaken. Either way, no substitutions right now. I think the teams are just kind of taking a breather. I see Goofy Goobers quite a bit in the stream chat. No, Evie, I cannot unhide chat. That would kind of defeat the purpose. For the very reason of when we're in this screen or a screen that doesn't show the game, I can then show a match chat. And I'm kind of glad that I hide it. So, there is that.
Definitely no arguments from me on that point. Match chat can get a little, let's say, colorful in a fun rivalry game such as Overwatch. To everyone watching, make sure you give some love to our boy Acronator here, because like he said, he watches an insane amount of Overwatch. He goes through, records all the VODs after all these matches are done, and he still manages to also stream, cast, and just honestly kind of puts the entirety, in my opinion, of League Zero on his back.
Not anymore. Used to. You should have been here for season 1. That was unironically, yes. That was painful.
I've heard the stories. I do not envy you, honestly. At this point in time,
I did everything I'm doing right now without a fellow caster, and I was hosting the lobby, so that was fun. I could probably find the VOD somewhere. It was so bad. Anyways, I think we're just waiting on these teams to kind of get back into their seats and ready. Just gonna hit him with the Prod R just to get ready, and it looks like we might be getting in soon.
Yeah, they are taking a well-deserved breather, taking the opportunity to stretch their legs out.
Here we
just
go.
Kind of recenter, refocus. But they ready, and we are going into Busan for our 5th map. What sort of compositions are you expecting to see here, Akron?
Well, on this particular map, Mecha Base, very much brawl-oriented. I can see them try and force the Wrecking Ball. It is viable here, but it's less common. That being said, neither of these teams are common in terms of their composition, so who's to say what's right and what's left. But, they're both teasing the Reinhardt, so no extreme shocker at the moment. In terms of DPS, I could see them running out on this. I know Natai loves to run the Doomfist phone. Used to be memed as a Reaper Pharah 2 trick, so not too shocking there. EOC more than likely not going to be on the Roadhog. We don't need no battery in this lobby. These teams have an easy enough time building up ultimates as is. They feed enough to the enemy's ultimate economy as is. But yeah, okay, we're seeing pretty standard compositions. Actually, no Doomfist from Natai opting for the McCree, probably preempting the Doomfist from Term. He does like to play it quite a lot.
It does seem that he read his opponent very well. Phone teleporting out to the back line, managing to get the early elimination onto Pixel Masters as Term goes into the back line of Hope's Peak. Doesn't manage to find any eliminations, but he sets up Dashy to take down Eevee. Doesn't really matter though, as Natai takes down Flawless, and without that main tank, the members of Goofy Goobers are going to begin to get the capture progress on the point. EOC jumping off of it. Lupical jumping back on. Here we go. Scorch managing to get that elimination onto Term as Adbon takes down Phone. So we're still sitting at a 5-on-5. Both teams down at DPS. Honestly, the biggest burst damage potential DPS member on both teams. A little bit of an engagement happening up on the higher ground. Geode just kind of popping his head out, playing a little bit of duck hunt, trying to get the ultimate charge that he can off of the team. Term manages to get back, so we are going to see a re-engage here of a 6-on-6. Dasha is going to be remeching as Adbon throws down that wall, isolating members of Goofy Goobers, forcing Lupical to throw out that immortality field to keep his team alive. An amplification matrix Deadeye goes out, managing to zone the members of Hope's Peak. Eevee dropping that Earth Shatter as Phone and Lupical manage to get the eliminations. Flawless answering back with an absolutely massive Earth Shatter, but no value being found as Adbon throws out the Blizzard, and it's not enough to keep his tank line alive as Dashi and Flawless both go down. He gets the pick onto Lupical, but Phone is just too much for the members of Hope's Peak to handle. 50% now on the members of Goofy Goobers. They are going they're going to try and hold on with everything they have, but the support ult's online. With 2 more ults for Hope's Peak, they might be able to push in hard and flip the point here, flop the point, flip-flop the point, either or. Pixel Masters is now throwing out that amplification matrix, trying to get some extra damage out, zoning the members of Goofy Goobers. Adbon with a distance pick onto Phone. What exactly is what I'm thinking? Hope's Peak now getting to capture the point. Eevee with a big charge onto Dashi, but you gotta remember Diva has Rocket Booster. She can get back onto the point. EOC falling off of the point though. What is happening over here? Term with a double elimination onto the members of Goofy Goobers. Hope's Peak does manage to stay in control of that point, but I have to say, just what the hell happened right there, Agri?
The Hope's Peak and Goofy Goobers happened. This is what happens when these teams play each other. It's nothing but hilarity. And coming into this next fight, I mean, Goofy Goobers have a decent ult advantage, but there's nothing so disgusting that Hope's Peak can't overcome it with a little bit of good play, right? Like that, that's going to stall out the point at least for another 10-15%, but Goofy Goobers seem to want... No, okay, they're just disengaging. If they're going to the low ground and going to points, probably safer to disengage, though you really want your McCree here and available. Although it does look like they're rotating, far down to the coast side. I don't think Hope's Peak were quite ready for that, so they're going to have to make a quick rotation. Oh dear.
Oh boy, the McCrees synchronizing their watches, both of them throwing out those Deadeyes. The teams are just kind of sitting there waiting like, alright, well... The alarm clock has gone off. Hit the snooze button. Adbon taking the pick onto Phone. Eevee getting dangerously low, and there he goes. Scorch drops the sound barrier too little, too late. Does not manage to keep his main tank up, so the members of Goofy Goobers are going to use that to just kind of disengage and get out. But the members of Hope's Peak, however, are saying, you don't get to disengage. You don't get to get out. We're going to send you back to your spawn by our terms, not yours. As Adbon finding a stagger pick onto Natai. Members of Goofy Goobers. Oh, man.
I'd like to point out that Adbon's the one who's taken out Natai like the last 3 times now. It's getting really awkward. I feel like Natai actually opting to swap out of the McCree duel onto the Doomfist duel. Let's see if he can do any better against Term.
EOC with a big self-destruct forces out the immortality field and the sound barrier from the side of Hope's Peak. Term, however, eliminating Natai as Dasha finds Phone. The members of Hope's Peak now have the man advantage. Flawless taking down his mirror. Adbon setting his clock once again, but he doesn't find any value. Lupical trying to fight back valiantly, taking down Geode. And the members of Goofy Goobers are just falling one after another. Natai going to try to stagger out on the point, but it is, or stall out on the point rather, and it is not going to be enough as Dasha sends in that self-destruct. Little exclamation point at the end of the sentence. Phone gets dropped, and the overtime timer finally ticks away, giving Hope's Peak the momentum and the first round. Goofy Goobers are now in crunch time.
This is going to be on a delay, but I want someone in Twitch chat, if you have the ability, to go and check out the first VOD of this matchup earlier in the season and see if the map order was the same. You know, like Goofy Goobers winning maps 1 and 4 and then losing map 5 potentially. Because by the time you say it in chat, I'll know. And we might be done with the map by that point, because I'm very curious to see if this is like the exact mirror of what happened before, because this is feeling very, very much like deja vu. Having a shadow dive come in from Hope's Peak, interestingly enough, and Goofy Goobers opting for old reliable. Have they lost it, or have they gained further insights into what will bring them victory here in this points? The team just kind of awkwardly rotating around each other, but Phone getting caught out. That might be the end of them. No, the peel is good, but for how long? Oh
Dasher
no.
finding the first elimination onto Scorch, managing to knock him out of the Immortality field. As Geode finds another, the turret gets dropped down. The members of Hope's Peak are now just cleaning house, forcing... We're on different spawn sides here. The members of Goofy Goobers are finding just nothing but bullets to the face, in all honesty. EOC manages to find an elimination with that accretion, but it's too little too late. The rest of his team is already gone.
Yeah,
He does swap over
especially
to the Diva. Oh, we're seeing full swaps come through for the side of Goofy Goobers.
especially looking at, well, the major win condition for Goofy Goobers, or no, sorry, Hope's Peak, get the side swapped up for a second, is the EMP Blossom, right? That's the old-fashioned win condition for Shadow Brawl. And both of those ultimates are perfectly in sync. So this might be a pretty nasty fight coming up later in this fight.
Lupical throwing out that amplification matrix allows Nitai to get the elimination onto Term as Flawless goes in with the Angry Monkey to try and get an elimination, and he does eliminate Lupical in the process. A bit of a brawl just kind of wrapping around as Geode takes down Eevee. Hope's Peak still has the man advantage here. However, Goofy Goobers... Actually, I am going to eat my own words there. There is no however. The members of Goofy Goobers are going to back out and try and reset. They do have the Deadeye, and they might be able to pick up a Pulse Bomb in the middle of the fight, depending on what kind of damage Phone is able to get in. But with the Coalescence and Self-Destruct on the side of Hope's Peak, I don't think they're going to find a lot of value with either of those DPS ultimates.
Yeah, no. Pixel Master is going to be tossing the Coalescence right about now, and that's such a hard thing to disengage from. Oh, yep.
Oh, and he manages to find Eevee, that orb just ticking away at the health, and finds that pick. Goofy Goobers pushing back, though. They're still going, trying to do what they can here. It's not really going to find any value. We're kind of entering a little bit of a poke fight right here. Adbon and Term to have the DPS ults online for Hope's Peak. Are we going to see that EMP Blossom coming through? Not yet. Adbon might be trying to get into position. He's got plenty of opportunity here.
It's going to be on
Nitai.
Scorch.
Oh! Nitai getting EMP'd out of the Deadeye, but Phone manages to find the Pulse Bomb pick onto Adbomb. Sound Barrier comes out from Geode to keep the team alive, and it allows Term to find the Death Blossom elimination onto Lupical, and then he takes down Nitai and Eevee on his own. EOC throwing in the Self-Destruct, trying to zone the members of Hope's Peak. It does manage to do just that, and he gets back in the mech, but it's not long before he's taken right back out.
You're kidding.
The overtime timer is ticking away. Adbon managing to send Baby Diva into the wall. Term taking out Lupical's Immortality field. Adbon just throwing fist after fist after fist. Mr. Fister securing the victory for Hope's Peak, denying Goofy Goobers their win. Goofy Goobers now dropping to 0-5 in this season of League Zero. They have one more chance to get their victory next week before playoff time starts, but for right now, Hope's Peak has earned the right to celebrate.
I'm at a loss at this point. I don't know what this game was. I don't know what it was supposed to be, but it was long. About 2 hours long. Oh, geez. Yeah, okay. Well, stick with us for a few minutes, folks. We're going to try and get someone in from Hope's Peak for an interview. I'm not sure who, but that is for us to figure out within the next few minutes. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our post-game interview. We have with us Adbon, the DPS member from Hope's Peak. Adbon, congratulations on a well-fought victory. How are you feeling right now?
Uh, it feels pretty good. It's a lot closer than I think most people on our team were expecting, even though we haven't really done a lot of scrimming. We haven't gotten a lot of practice in. I think the problem that we really have is that we kind of just play to our opponents. Like, we play down and we play up. Like, our game against Powerhouse was really close, despite it being a 3-0 loss. And then we made this game probably a lot closer than it should have. We did a mild amount of trolling on the first map and on Anubis. But it turned out well in the end. Ended up winning on map 5.
So I'm very curious, what was on, oh boy, your second round defense of Temple of Anubis on first point, when Goofy Goobers kind of hold themselves up into that little corridor right next to the point. What was the comms like to say, like, just go in? Because that felt like that sort of snowballed into Goofy Goobers then taking first point and then eventually second point.
I don't think it was any specific comment. It was more just a general mentality. So Dash said after the fact that he wanted to bomb in there, but he never got like the chance to really say it because we were all in the middle of a fight. And then right when he throws his bomb, I think his Eevee or whatever his name is pronounced shattered, so his bomb kind of just got knocked on the ground. Geode had a rally, so he wanted to go in, but it wasn't really a communication. Everybody kind of just went in and ended up not working because we're trying to brawl a brawl comp when we don't have any actual damage. Because I'm kind of just forced to sit out there on Kree, and Term can really only shoot stickies in. So it kind of just it wasn't set up. It wasn't a good idea. It didn't work, obviously, and it probably led to us losing that map. But it's kind of just happened.
Yeah, and I guess going directly from Anubis to Busan, like what changed? Because Busan felt a lot more dominant from you guys after you took the points on Mecha Base.
Basically, we just hit the comp switch. We were like, wait, so let's not play Mei against the Kree Reaper. So we just go Kree. We keep the Doomfist because Doomfist is good on that point, and we kind of just out-comped them. I also heard Phone walking around a ton as a Reaper, just making some loud clop noises.
I saw
So I just managed to flash Phantom every time he tried to flank. So that probably ended up not working out too well for them. But I think it's just the comp changes, and then on Sanctuary, we just played a better comp. I just don't think the bunker comp that they tried to play is good. I think it's kind of a troll. And then when they tried to swap to Brawl, I don't even think they should have played Reaper Kree. I think they probably should have just played Mei. But I think it's just a comp diff on Sanctuary.
All right, well, that's all the questions I've got. Bramble, if you have anything else.
It was certainly an amusing spectacle of a match to watch, absolutely. So with this, Hope's Peak moves up to 2 and 3 in the standings. Are you feeling pretty confident that despite starting in the lower bracket of the playoffs, that Hope's Peak has what it takes to go all the way through and take it?
I think we definitely do, as long as we can get practice in. And because we had basically, this has been the worst possible summer for scheduling I've ever seen with the team. Like, it's some cursed scheduling, like some voodoo black magic. I had to go on vacation, then Dash had to go on vacation, then Spork had to go on vacation. I think Pixel was on vacation for a while, and this all just happened like right in a row. And then I have friends from out of the states who came last week, so I wasn't able to be there for our last game. So that kind of just ended up not working out either. But I think we can definitely take it to the finals and win, as long as we can get practice in as a team and start working on improving synergy and comm structure and stuff.
Well, realistically, once you make it to playoffs, you just need to win 2 games to get into grand finals, if I'm not mistaken.
Just win forehead.
Yeah, just win like 3 games, and you're good. You know, you got this. You've played for longer. You can.
I mean, my GGNA team did do the undefeated, well, not quite undefeated, but very good losers bracket run to grand finals in that.
I think I casted your losers finals.
You did, and it wasn't losers finals, it was grand finals, and we lost.
Yeah.
We don't worry about that.
That is a good one.
I think we can definitely take it. Yeah.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Keep your eyes out for Hope's Peak to take it all. Adbon, thank you for your time. Go celebrate with your team on that well-fought victory.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty fun. See you guys.
And that is going to do it for us here.
Screwed up.
Don't sweat that too much. That's going to do it here for us tonight at League Zero Overwatch and this nice midweek rescheduled match that we had. Make sure to tune back in this Friday for the Novice Division, Saturday for the Intermediate, and you will be able to catch Hope's Peak and Goofy Goobers again on Sunday for the Advanced Division. Until then, I am Bramblebush. This is Acronator. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time for some more Overwatch.